Oke, boleh jadi mungkin yang mengajukan sebagai syarat undang-undang. Iya, dan ketiga, saya nggak masuk ke
It's a British book. Bread and art stuff. Oh yeah, I guess it's more. Ring the bell? Ding dong, ding dong.
Yeah, okay, I think we can start when we are waiting for some other people. And also one speaker, Andrew is not here yet. Before we start the session, I have one announcement that after the last session on academic publishing, we will have an additional short session to discuss about networking, and this is in response to the Nina question for maybe about 15 minutes. So before the closing remark session, so it means that we will have to extend the time to 17:30. An alternative to do that is we shorten our coffee break from 30 minutes to 15 minutes. That way we keep the closing at 17:15. So you decide whether we want to shorten the coffee break or not.
Okay.
Who agreed to this to shorten the coffee break?
Yeah.
Majority.
Okay. And
I think we can
who
close.
wants longer coffee break? Only three, yeah.
We can shorten the closing session. That's great. I think that can be very good.
Pardon, Ramesh?
We can shorten that last part. That doesn't have to be 15 minutes. Do that in 1 minute.
Okay, so we can shorten the coffee break and shorten the closing remark.
No,
Please,
no,
and then I will just take care.
Okay, I think we have an absolute majority that we will shorten the coffee break. Now we will start the session. In this session, we will have also three speakers. The first one is Pak Saiful Mahdi from the ICAIOS, the International Center for Aceh and Indian Ocean Studies. The second speaker is Pak Handri Imansyah from Lambung Mangkurat University in Banjarmasin. He's still outside. And the last speaker, there are two actually, Susan Olivia and Kathy Conwell, who are Indonesia Project Postdoctoral Fellow at Monash University. So this will be quite similar to the first session, so I don't think I need to explain the mechanism. To save time, let's start with the first speaker, Pak Saiful Mahdi. Thank you.
Terima kasih Pak Asep. Assalamualaikum, selamat siang. Good afternoon everybody. Allow me to move around. I'm Saiful from ICAIOS, International Center for Aceh and Indian Ocean Studies. But we don't study the ocean, we study the region around the Indian Ocean. study the region, the culture, the people around the Indian Ocean. I'll start a bit with about ICAIOS. It's pretty young, just started in 2007 institution. It's an inter-university established by 3 universities. So from Chris Manning discussion last night. This is an inter-university international research and training center established in Aceh by Syekh Kuala University, Islamic State of here in Araneri, and Malik Saleh University in Losmau and North Aceh. Aceh government, Ministry of Research and Technology of Indonesia, well, at least those are the parties and stakeholders that signed the MOUs of its establishment. That time was Prof. Kariman. So the initiative are from all these stakeholders. So we are proud to see our very small entity, small organizations with quite big network and modalities, nationally and internationally. It is a resource center for interdisciplinary and social scientists in Aceh and scholars elsewhere who wish to work in and on Aceh and the regions around the Indian Ocean. We do a lot of training, methodological training, research training by doing research, but also fund with small grants some research. We offer tailored assistance to local academics and researchers, mostly of those stakeholders that fund ICAIOS. So our beneficiaries are university lecturers from the 3 universities, but also government officials, especially the planning board agencies in all over Aceh. We actually tap on and benefit a lot from Aceh Research Training Institute RT. It is an outset post-tsunami intervention on knowledge sector in Aceh, but it was established, led by Professor Michael Lee from 2007, and Harold Crouch and others, prominent scholars who has kind of, for Michael Lee, of course, nostalgic memory of Aceh. And this center is actually adjacent to pusat latihan pengembangan penelitian ilmu sosial dan budaya. There's 3 centers established by 3-4 years in the 70s with the support from Rockefeller Foundation, I think. One in Banda Aceh, one in Makassar, and one in Surabaya. And so we are RT1. Professor Michael was one of the fellow in that in the 70s and 80s, and we still have his picture there. I don't know whether that's out of memory. Michael proposed this to us and established this RT to strengthen or revitalize this center. And then ICAIOS, which was established earlier after the international conference on Aceh and Indian Ocean Studies. So ICAIOS, the C was actually both centers but also conference. Our regional focus, of course, by its name, but so far we have mainly worked on issues on Aceh, in Aceh, but also with some collaboration with National Research Network. But starting this year, with more scholars, young human capital, I would say Aceh benefit kind of blessing in disguise after the tsunami, maybe, if you may. We lost a lot of scholars, great scholars, but thanks to the solidarity of the world, national and international levels, I think I would say Aceh has more postgraduate, master PhD student per capita compared to other provinces, I would say. Fulbright scholars, for example, I was one in the 90s, part of the program, offered 75 scholarships for Acehese after the tsunami. So for Fulbright program managed in Indonesia, definitely the biggest delegates are from Aceh. But also from, of course, from Australia and from many other parts of the world. And some of them are lecturers, already work as PNS in many parts of Aceh, but some of them are actually young minds working sometimes at national and international NGOs doing rehabilitation and reconstruction. So they are kind of like free to grabs actually to establish new institution or new debates or our research focus, our own research focus, of course, by its stakeholders, board members. Anthony Reid is one of the founder, and he's a historian, and we have so many historians in our institution, affiliates or board members. So history and social change, post-conflict, post-disaster development, and my own socioeconomic demography and environmental change. So it's really now three leading scholars leading these three areas of research focus for us. We do a lot of, like we said, research techniques in class and in the field. We work with national and international resource persons, scholars, including we got help from SMERU, from University of Indonesia, from CSIS and others doing this training. But we do research training by doing research work. We give small grants for our trainees to do actual research, and of course we also do research. Most of our research funding so far come from abroad, I mean from international organizations or international resources. I don't know whether that's a fortunate or unfortunate situation, but our international board, who are actually 10 Indonesian and 10 international scholars, are already warning about this, that actually the national government is not chip in as much as we used to expect. Well, like in many other organizations, I would say we have our own research agenda that we want to fund independently, like history. I don't think there's any donors or international agencies want to do things on this kind of basic research. So definitely on that. But most of our research are also collaborative, meaning partnership from the beginning. We build the idea, need assessment together from the beginning. But there are also commissions, research commissioned by sponsors, donors, or partners that sometimes the partnership can start at any point of the research cycle, not necessarily from the beginning. Many of international and national organizations ask us to identify our local young researchers to be research assistant, for example, and collaboration like that. But we consider that as commission because we are not very much involved with the formation or formulation of the research. These are sample of our previous research. Mapping space for democracy in South Aceh, climate change and poverty, social capital in resource management, economic development and peace, which is going to end actually this month, sometimes April 15th with the World Bank. Post-conflict transformation, politics, economic and social. This is commissioned by Ed Aspinall from ANU. Basic knowledge of democracy and peace. This is asked by JICA through Ministry of Foreign Affairs. That this is my own passion, population change in post-disaster. Maybe I'll skip this, but mapping space for democracy, there are actually 4 researchers, 4 principal investigators working on fiscal planning, social security, productive economy, and access to justice. Climate change and poverty was with Ford Foundation, but actually channeled through the NDP's environmental unit in Jakarta. I will skip this. The one that's ongoing right now is 3 research with MPD, Majelis Pendidikan Daerah. It's education, Aceh Education Council. It's part of special autonomy scheme that Aceh has this different kind of concepts. One of it is MPD, that's kind of like advisory councils to government on education issues. We are looking at Islamic education curriculum in Aceh because out of spatial autonomy, some people in Aceh think that Islamic education should be one of the pillars on top of 3 pillars that already formulated by the Ministry of Education in Indonesia. And we are looking at Daya. This is Aceh Islamic Boarding School of Pesantren in Java. We call it there Daya. And then from a lot of money that Aceh received for its oil and gas revenue, this special program in Aceh, we call it Aceh Scholarship Program, that also has sent, I think, by the end of last year, 2,500 scholars all over the world. And that there is pros and cons about this program. And the current governor has been asking to stop this program for a while and do this evaluation. We are in the inception phase of mapping knowledge sector in Aceh with the Asia Foundation, and we just also started the 8th aftermath. It is kind of like critically looking at what happened in Aceh after the 8th exit, 8th industry, some people will call it. This is also collaborative with myself as investigator, but also co-investigator from NUS and Monash. Yeah, Little Chaos actually has some MOUs including with Monash. So Little us with Big Monash. But it was a surprise, of course. The aftermath will look at 5 sectors: housing reconstruction, economic recovery, demography, government, civil society, gender and religion. So, and this is part of my ongoing research, population change in post-disaster Aceh. Anybody interested in this? This is 3 most affected regions or districts in Aceh to the tsunami. This is Banda Aceh, and this is Aceh Besar, and this is Aceh Barat, including Aceh Jaya. We can see in 2000, by 2000 census, Banda Aceh actually have a mature structure of populations. 2005, of course, is a stark decrease of the population due to casualties from the tsunami. But by 2010 census, we are having a broader base of our populations. So for me, this is fascinating to look at the reasons behind that. One of the hypothesis is that so many young couples in Aceh getting to work in international NGOs. Not very much worried about economic security, get married sooner, get children more. But that's still a wild hypothesis. This is for Aceh Besar also has a wider base on its population structure by 2010. And this is Aceh Barat. Our publications, we are proud of our seminars, discussion series, and I think actually I want to ask a question or at least suggest another alternative of the debate at the end of the session before our lunch. Mas Arif, my dear friend, and Prof. Krismani talking about the importance of peer-reviewed international publications. On the other hand, of course, there is a need for the importance of research on and its implication to policy. But I don't know with the current situation in Indonesia and especially in Aceh, I believe those are two things that are very important for researchers, for academics especially, and policymakers. But maybe another more modest goals, and we are pursuing on that, is knowledge sector development should provide a platform for contestation, for public debate. And we do that through our discussion series, seminars that sometimes bring about out-of-the-box ideas, wild ideas, crazy debates about the situation. And I think that what makes some part of our society unique before in Aceh, and we hope to build on that and keep the debate going. Also the challenge right now, if you follow the news from Aceh, of course it's much bigger, much more difficult, but everybody will say there's always news from Aceh. And in order to always make news, you have to always have a platform for debates, public discussion. And I think as long as we have that, we have achieved some part, if not full goals of knowledge sector development. Of course, we want to aim for more prestigious publications. We want to influence policy. But at least for Aceh case, it seems, I heard from Pak Majid this morning and from Pak Zaini how difficult to influence government policy. So bad and so difficult until we came to kind of like contemplation whether they do really use evidence-based policy or they do really care. In Aceh, it's become worse because based on one of the interview from one of our research, the local scholars, prominent scholars say the challenge is bigger because those who lead Aceh now are not going to school, and those who lead the Daya to the Pesantren are those who actually not learning about Islam at all. So in villages, my district very special because our Bupati name is Sarjani. He's an ex-combatant. We didn't have, of course, maybe just SMP or maybe even SD. So there's no saying in the villages, we have Sarjani, you don't need Sarjana. Or some part of the society already come to the conclusion that why would you need higher education if by completing SMP or SMR you can already be a Bupati or a Wali Kota. So this is kind of challenge I think for knowledge sector in general in Aceh, and I think we want to embrace that challenge and maybe not so much. There's some part of our affiliates, our researchers looking up to publish to international journal, how we want to support that, and with international and national networks that we have like today, we are very optimistic about that. We work together with the Bapeda, with provincial and district level Bapeda, and with Forum Peneliti Aceh. We try to influence policies at the provincial and district levels. But part of ICAIO's image is the discussion series that bring issues, for example, Islam warna-warni, colorful of Islam, because in Aceh, actually there is a lot of branch of Islam, including Shia and others. But of course, like in other parts of Indonesia, there is contestation, there is debate from one part. But when we have this kind of discussions, a lot of people came, scholars, non-scholars, academics, non-academics, activists, and all can have a platform to discuss issues that is actually very, sometimes very sensitive. You cannot do that really much within the society, but you can do that in the platform of academic discussion. And we'll have resource persons, scholars, prominent scholars that knows what they are talking about, and try to kind of like give everybody that attend our discussions more ammunition to again debate and have different perspective and have this platform for contestation. We are also have Aceh working papers with NUS. We are proud and would welcome and encourage everybody here to come. But the call for papers already passed. We have ICAIO's biannual conference that is very well attended. For this year, it's going to be 8 to 10 June. It's going to be in Los Maui, and actually it's quite surprising to have 135 abstract, because not as big as IRSA yet, but we have scholars from 15 countries actually submitted their abstract on the issues of social recovery, whatever it means, the big jargon of social recovery in post-disaster and post-conflict Aceh. Monographs and books, journals, some of our research been published in international peer review, but mostly these are commission research by those scholars, especially from from Western countries, from other countries. That's why maybe we are still have to address what Ancho Nisbah has written in the Critical Asia Ransaking Aceh. Maybe some of you have read this, but that's the situation. But I think we are optimistic that some of our young minds coming back from master PhD studies in many parts of the world is going to strengthen these initiatives. Most of the scholars in Aceh want ICAIO to publish the journals, but we have the discussion of our brunch, our lunch, that I also the ones who propose that we should strengthen and support the journal that's already there. You don't need to publish your own journal. Tadi diskusi dengan Bapak saya dengar. We have a small library but quite strong, and my colleague is very proud to say this is the strongest social science library in Aceh. And these are some part of our publications. These two books actually coming out from the first conference, ICAIO's first conference. I think I will stop there. Thank you.
Thank you, Pak Saiful. We have 10 minutes for discussion. Maybe for the three questions. Anyone like Pak Max? Okay, we'll start with Pak.
Thank you, Pak Saiful, for very interesting presentation. This is the iOS was established in 2007. It means maybe less than 10 years. Quite new research center. I would like to know what is the obstacle, what is the problem in developing kind of seminar cultures and improving the capability of the researchers, or how you select the researchers, what is the best, what is the way to select the researchers, and the second thing is regarding the topic research. Do you have any kind of roadmap beside the kind of what is the kind of from the pesanan ya dari beberapa pihak begitu? Apakah you also have kind of the strategic research in the next 10 5 years can be addressed in the research center? Thank you.
Terima kasih Pak Max. How do we select a researcher? Well, like I told you before, well, we start by training usually for candidate of research or young researchers or aspiring researchers. We follow and we tap on what RT has been doing, which is very good. We do capacity building first, and to be able to join one of our training, research training. It is open to the public on the website, on the newspaper, and through mailing lists and emails, inviting everybody who can meet certain criteria. Anybody, basically anybody, but we of course encourage lecturers, young lecturers from the 3 universities, researchers or staff from the SKPD, in Aceh we call it SKPA, the offices, the provincial and district offices, but of course that has to be related to the topic of training that we are offering. If it is about climate change and poverty, for example, maybe Dinas Sosial, Bapedalda, or Bapeda of course might want to send their staff to compete. And like the last one, economic development and peace research training, we have 111 applicants, but we can only accommodate 20. So we selected 20 out of 111 with an independent commission. We asked from one from ICAIOS, the other 2 from ICAIOS board, and the other 2, 5-member panel actually selected the 20. ICAIOS only did administrative selection, so we want to make sure it meets the minimum requirement. But from 111, 40 were interviewed on-site or by phone, because there are some that are applying from outside Banda Aceh, far away from Banda Aceh. But once they are among the 20, they will be provided with everything. Travels to Banda Aceh, the accommodation during usually 20 to 1 month intensive research training in class and outside the class. And then we give them many kind of with resource person nationally or internationally invited. And then at the end, including how to build good research proposals, well, is usually part of the training. And then at the end of the program, all these 20 trainees are asked to write the research proposals of their own interests, but has to meet with the big agenda, economic development and peace, because this is a collaborative research with the World Bank. But World Bank didn't ask, they just give us the title Economic Development and Peace. But they actually can choose their own topic, and one of them choose social issues, the other choose livelihoods. So from the 20, we expect that everybody will submit their research proposals, and then we'll select 3. For this particular one, we selected 3 best research proposal out of 7 presented, out of 11 submitted, and then grant a small grant for 3 group of researchers to do research. And then we'll facilitate with mentors actually. So while they are doing research, they can opt for, or they can ask us to facilitate them with mentors that we, through our networks, which is including this one, including SMERU, that we can have, if a young researcher or aspiring researcher wants to do this and doesn't know much about the methodology, we can always have a mentor. So mentor can be from national universities, national research institution, but also international scholars, to mentor the researchers while doing their research for 4 to 6 months, and then we'll facilitate them with dissemination process, writing monographs, and publish at least at our conference. And in the end, depending on the grant that we have, also publish in the form of monographs or books. The roadmap, yeah, we have a series strategic planning. At the end of last year, we built the roadmap. Unfortunately, I didn't put it in on my website. But the ultimate goal is membangun masyarakat yang waras. Well, basically, I think all the debates about the use of research is really whether you have a masyarakat yang waras or not, and Aceh may be at one of the extremes right now. So, while not only in this, ordinary people in the society, actually, I believe and I witness myself at my university and other universities, we don't actually do serious research. We don't actually write well. And I'm a lecturer, so I know myself. I think if we want to tackle these issues seriously, we have to go all the way to basic education. To make writing is fun and better and fun, and because my students couldn't very rarely do my students write well. Maybe among one batch, only 1 or 2 can write. Maybe none, single one in 1 year. I don't know, but even if we have like writing support center like in the universities outside Indonesia, I don't think it's going to help right now, because I will feel sorry for the volunteers or consultants that staff the writing center, because you basically have to rewrite everything. And I have this, I think, if Asep permit me to close my comments, a discussion before Prof. Harold Crouch left RT. Well, actually, I just came back from my study in the States. I don't know how I met him on the plane from Medan to Banda Aceh. And because, of course, I know the famous Harold Crouch, and we discussed about the problem, and I asked him, because I know he has been leading RT for, I think, if not 1 year, maybe only 6 months. And his observation is precisely that nobody, including among the docents in Aceh, so it's not only from Syah Kuala University, but also from IAIN, and because RT take lecturers from all over Aceh, including Malikus Saleh in Los Mame, Teguh Umar in Aceh Barat. And his comment is about writing skills. Nobody write well. Not in English, in Bahasa Indonesia. So we are not talking, and I think when we force our scholars to publish in international education, I think it's kind of not fair, for now at least. I would presume, and if I have to publish a journal, I would publish a journal that has both Indonesian and English or other languages, gadu-gadu berbagai bahasa. But definitely, there are some friends that can write very well in Indonesian, but not so much, and terribly scared of writing in English. Is she not a very good scholar? Is she not internationally capable of being a good scholar? I think some of them are, and we should provide also a platform for this. I would agree that some of us might want to publish internationally in foreign languages, but what about an international journal, both in Bahasa Indonesia and in English? Because Pak Kris mainkan dari Bahasa Indonesia, so we can also have international journal in Bahasa Indonesia, why not? Thank you, Pak.
Thank you, Pak Saiful. The last point actually counter to Pak Kris last night session that improving writing skill has no age limit. Okay, because of time constraint, I think we better move to the second speaker, Pak Henry Masha from Landmark University in Banjar.
Okay, thank you very much for inviting me to present my institution, to share about my institution, current practice, and ongoing and future research. I chose the presentation because most of the previous presentation discussed about the institution. So I think that's I want to share about my institution, the research, and the ongoing and future and the problems, because maybe most of you don't know about Landmark University and where they're located. My university is in Banjarmasin, south of Kalimantan. Last year, we had a host of international conference, IRSA International Conference, and also as the host for the expert workshop of IRSA. We got this grant from USAID to hold both events. That's why we can run this event. This is very helpful for our institution to become exposure to the international scholars and national scholars, because most of our environment is not conducive for academic, like Pak Saiful said that just like a docent mengajar, only teaching, not the research. We look back for about several years ago. I and my colleague got a research grant from East Asian Development Network, is in Thailand, and the research is to study the impact of proliferation of local government to the welfare of the people. We try to publish, to the at least to the national accredited journal, but now it's under revising. So among our busy work, because most of our colleagues usually has a multiple job to get to sufficient you know that most of the docent has separate job to cover their living costs. That's why most of the docent in local, in small university has multiple jobs to get additional income. So they cannot get good research work. That's the problem. I think. So if we can get the good research grant, so they can focus their research on the research without get additional job. That's the problem. As Arif said, that that's the structure of the institution in the state university is very bureaucracy. So that's the problem for small university and in my university. Usually, our institution get the research grant from the government, like the Ministry of Finance. In 2010, we got two research grants from Fiscal Policy Office. One is to develop model of business cycle, and it has been published to the accredited journal. The second one is sustainable development. It's a policy brief to the Ministry of Finance. And 2011, we got another research grant from Fiscal Policy Office. We study about to measure the persistent impact of global financial crisis. We present to the IRSA conference of the result of this paper. And last year, we tried to get other collaborative research with UI, Pusat Kajian Administrasi. They invite me to join the collaborative research. They have the research grant from UI, and I joined with them to study about CO2 emission of the sector in Indonesia. We just doing the data based on available data in BPS, and we try to publish this paper to UI journal because my colleagues wants to publish in their journal. Right now, we also collaborative research with UI as well to continue the study of CO2 emission, but based on 2010 data. We collaborate with BPS, and I hope we can finish by the end of this year. But the jump, from the 1995 jump to 2010, so there is missing two tables. It's better if we can complete the series of the tables so we can see the structural change of the energy input output, so we can see for policy making the trend of the change of the energy use. Most of our research is from the government. That's why there's very limited fund for us to have the research. The problem is also about the limitation of our capacity, because most of the our colleagues doesn't have capacity to do base research. So as I cannot do it by myself. Because my time is so limited to give concentrate in one research area. That's why I have to to share with our colleagues, but that's the problem in a small university, usually the capacity. The future research that we have to continue, I think that's if we have some fund, we want to continue to construct with BPS IO Energy 2005 and 2000, so we can complete all the energy IO table for the series from 90 to 2010. But the problem is with this is the research fund for study of this research. That is my institution about the research. That's another thing is that if we want to improve the capacity of our colleagues, that's we have to train in research. But the problem is we have to exercise like research, and one of the constraints, I want to have some like a seminar, routine seminar. I propose to my colleagues in my institution to have at least once a month or 2 months once, but there is no response. So there is no academic environment to improve the academic life. That's the problem. Even just 6 months for seminar, internal seminar, because without seminar internally, we don't have any feedback or input from our colleagues. What is your work? What our correct work of our colleagues? Even some of new doctorate, I want ask them to give presentation about their research. They reluctant to share about their research. I don't know. That's the constraint of our institution. In our institution, there is new two PhD from local university from Erlangga. I asked them to share about the research, because if we know about our colleagues' research area, if we have or if we want to propose some research, we have some pool of research, research expertise. So we can pull up this research expertise to give or to make research proposal, to have some fund from other donors or other institutions. That's, I don't know how to deal with this kind of constraint. Maybe that's maybe most of you have some experience how to improve this academic life. It's very helpful for us to improve our institution. That's all my presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Pak Andri. Maybe we can raise some question more detail about the institutions, the arrangement for research. Please, if you have any questions, Pak Budi.
Thank you. Pak Henry, is the Faculty of Economics in Bumangkurat has a research center, and any research center under the faculty or even under the rectorate, but consists of docent in faculty of economics?
In our faculty, we have two institutions. There's one is management institute and one is research center for the economics and development. But this institution is doesn't have any activity because they don't trust about this institution. Our colleagues try to sell to propose to our local institution like a Panda to use this institution. They don't want because of the person who run the institution. So they want to ask the preferred person rather than using the institution. So they use, like they trust me, just use me, and I use the institution as a faculty, not the institution, not the research center of the economic and development studies. So they prefer to use the person. That's in the university level. We have land lead, but because of the head of the land lead is also if there is a research grant, they use the person that they want. They can cooperate with their own interest. That's why most of the local institution doesn't trust to use the UNLAG. That's why many of the local government use from UI, from IPB, from ITB, something like that. That's the problem in our institution. So there is how to deal with this kind of, because it's very acute of the problem. That's maybe Prismani.
Kalau boleh Bapak mengambil lebih jauh, apa sebenarnya problemnya? Mengapa universiti tidak mau menggunakan institut yang direnovasi? Artinya ini masalah kebagian rezeki?
Something like that. Something like that. University, they pull all of the local government. If they want to use the resources in Unlang, in Mangkurat, they have to use land. They have signed the MOU. But actually, if they have to use the land lead, they know that the person who will to study, to do research about this kind of project, so they don't want it. It's better for them to use from outside Kalimantan, like ITB. It's more prestigious for them to use that, because they know the person that who do the research is, the quality, something like that. Because I know my colleagues, they don't want to use, they don't want to start to do maximum that they can do. Yes. Okay, that's like that. It's okay. So they don't want to optimize their capacity to do the best work that they can. That's why the Panda doesn't want to do the Unlam. That's the problem. And that's problem is also the pembagian rezeki. Yeah. Because they know if they use the Unlam, the land lead has to give some proportion to rector and to other bureaucrats. That's why the researcher is very small thing that they can get. That's why there's no incentive to them to maximize their capacity. That's the problem. That's why they prefer, if they know the person, they use, I want you to do this one. Whatever the institution they can use. That's why I usually, if I use my faculty rather than family. That's the problem. That's why I asked Ari, how is the structure in Unpad, because maybe I can imitate the structure and how to work like that. Thank you.
Thank you, Pak Handi. It seems to me that the problem is very basic governance issue here. Yeah? Maybe you need to take over the university. Anybody would like for questions? Yeah, Ibu Lilis.
Maybe just share some experience with me. I think there are quite similar problems about researchers, families, and then research institution, also in university. They have like double burden. We speak about it with Lina earlier. Most researchers, like in LIPI, we are burdened by structural work. While in the university, they have to divide it between the work in teaching and doing the research. So sometimes they cannot do optimal or maximize their work in research because they have to also concentrate on teaching. I think there's a problem in Indonesian researchers. But in LIPI, actually, if in university they want to concentrate on research, we also have like the career path for researchers, and in the end, LIPI can grant the research professor. I think in Australia they have that kind of mechanism too. Like, I don't know, maybe this forum can also come up with some recommendation about the double burden of researchers everywhere in the country.
Do you have any response to that?
Yeah, I think it's the same, yeah, because in the university we have to teach that many of our colleagues is like teaching only, not research, because research takes time and no money. But teaching, if you can teach as many right, you get cash. That's the problem. That's why most of the docents like teaching, especially for the postgraduate, because the rate is very high and it's easy. Just give some 2 hours and get some cash. But teaching, but research, just reading and we don't know the results. That's why maybe. But I love research because that's why I'm abnormal over there. Because I like research, but that's why my teaching duty is very small. I mean, just 2 or 3 subject plus 1 or 2 for postgraduate. Yeah. But my colleagues is not the 10. So compared to our other colleagues, this my duty is very small and very simple. They say they said that there's no Henry only only research. That's why my kind of back is not as good as many of my colleagues.
Yeah, thank you, Pak Andre. I think your problem about the income division from research commission from outside, how you decide income, I think that's one of the basic problems. Maybe not only at your university, but also in other universities as well. Unfortunately, we at SMERU doesn't have anything to offer on that because we have different systems. At SMERU, all researchers are paid a salary, and they are not related. The salary is not related to the research work that's done by the researcher. So there's not incentive for a researcher to do their own research outside the institution. So perhaps Pak Ari or other people from universities Indonesian universities can give more insight or useful experience to share with Pak Andre on that.
Okay, so for my center that I'm managing now, so only management is paid regular salary like me, and only 3 people. The rest of the 50, they are only paid if they are involved in one research project. If not, so all our researchers are basically part-timers because most of their job, many of the jobs are teaching, and the salary is we have specific structured incentive system. For example, for a PhD, we have we have like 5 billion a month for 6 months project, mention that, and this is we make it transparent. And I can also share other centers within the faculty have many of them, they don't have transparent and open structure of incentive within the center. Many of them, they have projects from somewhere and they bring to the center and they say, look, I have the project, but I need your name. This is name. So I'm going to work on it. How many commission do you want for the center? So that's what the normal thing to do in universities. And this is not good. Why? Because how can institution develop if we are based on the commission from the project or even subcon? So I think in our faculty of economics, only my center, the rest of the two no. So we have independence on this. And then I'm very lucky because I have a lot of support from senior and medium and also young generation. My colleagues from the department, they don't have the system. And so they cannot, so they don't really develop like we have. So that's how we need to have open transform system. Because with that, some big project we can save money. But some project can be subsidized. I think things like that. Other institute in university, can be collapsed because they have very big fixed costs. They can collapse, but we don't have fixed costs. So that's what one of our survival. And of course, I also share your concern about opportunity cost of doing project, because teaching is fast cash, and it's envelope too. You know, my wife is on a mission, so it's not used to getting envelope. so because money is not transferred in teaching, right? It's good cash. So whenever you teach, you get envelope. So one is very nice word. Envelope. So we don't have big fixed costs. So we other as fixed costs. So the fixed costs only salary for management only. But other institute, they have to pay all of the researchers monthly. And that's the big issues. If we don't have constant stream, or
I just wanted to share some experience from the UK. For those of you who know me, know that even though I work for the Australians, I'm actually a Brit. Prior to moving south in the world, I spent about 10 years in the Institute of Development Studies in the University of Sussex. And I found the conversation about the incentives absolutely fascinating. As an economist, I'm a big believer in the idea that we tend to follow incentives, and the description which you've just given is a perfect example of how the outcome that you get is a direct consequence of the incentives that you set up. Let me explain the incentives that exist in the University of Sussex, and you can compare them with the ones that you just described. There, you have academics who are paid a salary, a reasonable salary and so forth, and then they receive an amount of money from the government which is directly proportional to the quality of the publications that they produce. As a consequence, they spend all of their time trying to produce as high quality research as they possibly can and trying to run away from the students and do as little teaching as they possibly can. The students always complain and say, please can we give them envelopes or something like that so they can teach us. And the head of the department has to crack the whip over the academics in order to get them to do their teaching obligations. So it really shows how the outcome that you get is determined by the incentive structure, and the real issue is how can you build a coalition for improving the incentive structure.
This is similar to the US. Unless you are very
Thank you, Neil, for the opposite problem. But Pak Arif, so what is the incentive for a lecturer to get an individual contract to do research to bring that to the institution?
That's a big problem. It's just there's a trust building. Trust building means I cannot formally black. I don't know. I don't know. That's all right. But look, we have all of these young people who want to develop institution. Are you fair enough to build institution? So this spirit that need to be shared, and you have to have a massive critical mass that have the same vision. I think that's what I'm trying. It's not easy.
Okay, thank you. So, anyone would like to add more? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, in my case as well, I try to bring the research grant to the faculty, and I use this give the fee to the faculty because we use the institution to spend on other things. Many of our colleagues just using other institution like LSM or other things just to avoid the fee. I want to use like Pak Arif said, we give the spirit to share to other young generation, develop the institution, because we give just 5% or 10%. It's not big deal to the institution because we use our institution and the network because they trust the institution rather than LSM. That's why I bring all of my, because usually I get research grant for my personal and bring my grant to the institution and invite other colleagues to capacity building, something like that. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I think that I'm almost up for Henry. Well, here we don't try to find a solution for Henry, but I think one thing is clear that you will need to develop a critical mass first, that's according to Arif. Then with people with similar minded person, then we can start to develop a good institution within the university. I think that's possible. I think that's my conclusion from this discussion. Now let's move to the third speaker, Susan and Kathy. I wonder if they also have some incentive problem at Monash.
Okay, thank you. Well, we're the crowd from Melbourne, two of us here. And I'm just going to talk a little bit about our centre, and Susan's going to talk a bit more in depth about one of her research projects. So at Monash University of Melbourne, we're part of the Centre for Development Economics. It's a relatively new centre, and it's basically a bunch of researchers from three areas of the Faculty of Business and Economics. So we have the Department of Economics, the Department of Econometrics and Business Statistics, and then sort of alongside Monash Sustainability Institute. So various researchers from those departments or groups are sort of denoted as part of the centre, but they're predominantly employed by the respective departments. So there's quite a number of us. Our expertise is probably mainly in South and Southeast Asia, and our strength, if I had to put a label on it, would probably be in quantitative analysis. So we like our data, we like our program evaluation, we like experimental economics, and basically econometric analysis. Yeah. In terms of people who work predominantly on Indonesia, there's three of us. Two of us are here today, and also Lisa, who is actually the director of the centre.
I would like to ask, why do you wear sunglasses? It's used by mafia.
Every time I look at that photo, it's from our website. I say, I'm asking a new photo.
You look like Al Pacino.
That's Al Pacini.
Now, if I crossed out the predominantly, in terms of people from the centre who have worked on Indonesia, then there's a whole bunch more people we could add there, but they've sort of just dabbled in it rather than actually had it as their focus like the three of us have. Now the three of us tend to be, we like our data and our analysis, and so we use a lot of data. We tend to be microeconomics and econometricians, so we like to look at households and people rather than sort of macroeconomy. We have our favourite big Indonesian data sources such as the Indonesian Family Life Survey, the SISMAS, the PODES, the census, and satellite data, rainfall data, and of course often we collect our own via surveys. At the moment, we've got a whole range of different projects that are centred on Indonesia happening. Lisa's working on looking at HIV/AIDS among sex workers, and also looking at sanitation and health. Susan will talk a lot more about that shortly. Susan's also looking at economic activity as seen from space, as in satellite data and lights and that kind of thing. The effect of natural disasters on attitudes to risk. How mistargeting of programs might affect crime, rainfall and child health. So this sort of relates to the kind of climate change idea. As we get more rainfall or more rainfall variability, what happens to the health of children, and also occupational job mobility amongst into our migrants. And so that's pretty much what we've looked at. We're currently looking at. So I'll pass over to Susan to talk a bit more depth.
So today we're going to share with you some of the results from the recently completed report that I've done with my colleague at Monash, Lisa Cameron, as well as Manisha from the UCLA. So can anyone hear me? So if I get mic, I might tend to sing, but I don't think that you guys can. some kind of motivation before like I get into like detail about what kind of intervention about this sanitation in here. So like I got a few statistics about the child in developing countries. So like one child dies every 50 seconds from diarrhea disease, and then this diarrhea and acute lower respiratory infection account for like more than 40% of like 10 million more deaths among young children.
Is that South or Southeast Asia?
That is across the whole country in the developing countries. Yeah. So I mean like there's quite a lot of like, evidence out there. They say, you know, this child health issue can be reduced. We can like, do something about it if we have a good access to the sanitation, safe water drinking, and so on here, right? But a quite surprising result based on the like, data collected by the WHO and the UNICEF in here about that what the majority of population in the world among the poor, about 60% of poor, they lack access to the improved sanitation, right? So that is quite a big number. So let me just give you like some number like close to the idea from Indonesia. So in Indonesia itself, about 110 million people lack access to the sanitation. That is just based on the last year. And then out of those numbers, it's about 63 million actually practice open defecation. So the people like doing their business, or if you, I think that's the Indonesian economy is called BAB, in the agricultural field or in the river and pool, right? So as a result, you can think of like, you know, when everyone just like BAB di sembarangan tempat, and then all of these things kind of be like you. So like, you know that this is a fecal matter lying there might be some contamination, like some of the field, some of the kids in the rural area, they might play around, they might be like step onto it, or like flies that go onto it, and like flies through a lot of different contamination, right? So again, you might want to try to, I'm glad that we have this answer, not straight up. So that's kind of a bit, you might want to try to look at, you know, what is the impact of this one here. So with the Indonesian itself, lots of people do not have access to improved sanitation, and there's still high proportion of people practicing open defecation here. That's going to be like all of this going to this not hygiene behavior is going to be burden on the disease, especially on the young children, right? So in Indonesia itself, the foremost common causes and the high mortality is fatal born in diarrhea and hypoemia, and then about 11% of the children have diarrhea and in a 2-week period, right? So if you want to try to look at more of the public health issue here, you might try to look at, you know, we can tend to see if you want to have healthy children later on the outcome in here, you have to like start with the input at an early age. So that people like tend to look at, you know, to have a healthy baby, we need to like, do something at the early age and so forth, and the implication that they might have a better adult health outcome later on, right? So in terms of this one in here, look at this cause about this burden of disease. You might say, you know, if people have a diarrhea, that means that all this they might have, you know, all the like, food is not properly absorbed in their body system. They might lack into like malnutrition. When they have this malnutrition, it's going to be impact on the cognitive development, and then so what might be impact on the adult health outcome later on, right? So since that there are quite a few economies in the room, so let me like try to like convince you like what kind of economic cost involved, right? So like when the kids are sick, so there's also a lot of like cost involved with this sickness. When your kids are sick, you need to like send your kids to the hospital, you need to pay for that, right? But for the rural people in the area here, we don't have nanny, we cannot ask nanny to like take your kids to the doctor. So sometimes these parents, they just have to like forego not going to the work, just to like take the kids to get treated, right? So in terms of kids in here, you also have to like miss your school, and then if you like not doing very well, just it's a bad health outcome every year. If you're going to like missing your work, and then so forth, and then later on, there's going to be have an impact, by the way, impact on your labor market outcome. You'll not become very like, productive adult later on, right? So in terms of like this number here, they call it this market to grow and put on based on the study by the World Bank, they actually estimate the economic loss of around like 2.4% of GDP. So instead of like not only like costing from individual perspective, right? Because if we don't have like healthy kids, it's going to be affected the productive adult, but later on we don't have enough productive human capital that's going to be fall back on our economy as well. So that's not something what we want. So let me like try to like talk about, you know, what is the intervention that we are doing here. So the intervention, this is what we call, there's quite a few names going on here, but they basically mean the same thing. This is a total sanitation and sanitation marketing, TSSM. The Indonesian is called STOPS, so that stops overflow contamination. And then sometimes we also talk about this as a community-led total sanitation. So the idea about this program here, this TSSM here is implemented by the World Sanitation Program. It's under the umbrella of World Bank. And see, there's a friend from the World Bank here. And then the impact evaluation is also like funded by the World Bank and then the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation here. So that basically that the Bill and Melinda Gates in the last few years, they have been like doing a lot of money trying to like, improve the sanitation and so forth, right? But they don't really know because most of the evidence about this access to the sanitation health outcome, they're based on very like small scale study. And then all the observation based on very controlled study. So you cannot really say, cannot really say something about the causal impact here, right? Because when you like try to like monitor people under the controlled behavior, there may be some behavioral change and we're going to talk about that later here. So with our this TSSM intervention here, so the key thing in here is that there is no financing capital structure at all. So the reason behind this one is that in the past, Indonesian government during the Suharto era, and then they had put a lot of money, tried to like call this Impress Sami Jaga program, tried to like, build a toilet, but no one really has done the proper impact evaluation here. But when we found some anecdotal evidence, like seems like people do not really use the toilet. The toilet is there, but like, some people usually use the toilet seat as a stadium seat on the soccer field, or like some people even use this toilet latrine as a place to store the grain, right? So I mean, the thing is that, but people just do not know what is the use of this thing, so that is not what we want. So that's how that this innovation with this project in here is just we are going to like try to like stop open defecation by just raising awareness, right? So like most of the time in here, right, we know that there is something right we need to do, but most of the time that we tend not to do it, right? So that, for example, in here, I think talking about this health campaign, people talking about, when you want to have a sex, make sure that you want to have a protection in order to increase the risk of having HIV here, right? So based on the video that what Arif showed us today, right? So we still see, people that been a lot of like campaign that is going on in here to reduce HIV. You need to be like cautious here, but that is not the case here, right? So this idea about this here, is like try to like stop open defecation by raising awareness. You have to like keep reminding people like over and over again, right? So we don't have to go, for example, from my own example, my mom always tells me that it's good to eat vegetable, right? I'm sure that how many of you, when you were a kid, how many of you would eat that vegetable without your mom or your dad give you some incentive, right? So I mean, keep it. So that's kind of the idea here. So that's actually quite we have a video here, but because that's for the sort of time I'm not going to show it here. So the idea in here is just that we send the triggering, we send the facilitator to the villages. We just like the facilitator ask gather people around in the village, and then ask them, where do you live? Where do you do your business? Or that's where do you defecate, right? And then they just draw a circle in here, just kind of be the show or around here, and then so forth, right? So it's kind of give this a rise of this trigger motivation, right? So if people like the facilitator they say, looks, so if you live here, and then if you open defecate in this area here, and then at some stage they also like, so if all of you do it here in 1 week, you have so many people in this village, this is how much pool that you guys created, and then times it by a week, by a year, this is how much we to do, right? So imagine that you have kids playing around in the field, going to be contaminated and so forth, and then they got the flies that got into your food and so forth, right? So I think in some of the video, the facilitator like pour this glass of water, and then they put like some kind of fecal matter, and then just give it to the people, like kind of a bit EU gross, and that is an idea to try to raise this awareness for this stuff. Yeah. So that is pretty much what they do. I'm going to show you here. So that this program in here is being implemented by the WSP. It's actually like phased out throughout the whole East Java in the 29 district in here. But for the program in here, we just evaluate it as a part of the phase 2 here. We're going to talk about it later on. So in this, you can try to look at, we are trying to look at impact evaluation at the 8 kabupaten in the East Java. We got Ngawi, Madiun, Blitar, Jombang, Probolinggo, Bondowoso, Situbondo, and Banyuwangi. So let me try to give you something in here. So as I mentioned to you before, this WSP said this kind of thing, they have implemented 3 different phases. So the phases like first, and then we actually came in and then try to evaluate as phase 2 here. So we tried, so 10 districts said that they want to implement, so 8 districts participated in our study here. And then based on this, because at this kind of is a randomized control type, we try to figure out what is the impact of this program. We need to find what is the good counterfactual here. So in order to do that, we just want to make sure that we compare the apples and apples, and we want to make sure that before the intervention, they would have this same characteristic here. So from this district, so we asked this district head to give us at least 30 dozen, but most of the time they give about 50 to 60s. And then we just randomly select using this random generating number in the data, try to decide which the dozen is going to be our treatment and which is going to be our control here. And then based on that one, and then we also sample from the universe, we also from each dozen we get interview the household with the children under 5 because we want to look at the impact on the young children, so that's why we need to have the children under 5 here. So we end up about 2,000 households, and then we have about 80 dozen treatment in the group and then control group here. So that's basically our segregation. So basically this idea of randomized evaluation, we just want to make sure that sometimes we're just going to randomize who is going to get the treatment, because otherwise some of the government program, they tend to place the program as a non-random. So if that is the case, when you try to do evaluation, you are not really sure that it's a particularly due to impact of the program itself or something else happening here. So I think the idea with this randomized evaluation is going to tackle that problem, especially the selection bias issue and so on. But we are going to look at what are the problems. That is a nice and a theoretical, but in practice, they got a few things going on here. So because that is outcome interest here, the main of the cases in here, we just want to change the people's behavior towards more better hygiene practice. So we want to look at whether the impact of HCF, PSSM on the sanitation improvement, and then whether the household construct or not. And then also that we want to make them show that we change the behavior, especially in the open education. And then just try to link in here is that try to link when you have an improved sanitation, use that one, change the behavior, we are going to have impact on the child health outcomes. So the other various health outcomes we look at, maybe diarrhea, we also have this collect children fecal sample, try to look at what kind of worms that they have in their fecal matters. We got anemia, stunting, and also cognitive and motor development response for the worms to develop here. So we collect measure for the children, as I mentioned to you before. We have a household, try to look at basic demography, demographic market, and then we also try to get some information from the community level as well. So we try to look at what kind of existing water supply, what kind of facilities, if there's any existing programs exist in that country. So in that case, we can control if there's something going on in that country, we can make sure that we can say something confidently about whether our program is having impact or not.
Can I ask what is anthropometry?
So anthropometry is just like the height, weight, head parent. So we also have this longitudinal data as well. So I mean, over the time, this project has been going on for about over 2 years to 3 years. So during that time, we also try to send facilitate the enumerator to just make sure that to get this child health measure, as well make sure that all the treated fetus that are supposed to be treated, they got treated. So I mean, one key thing to get to do a good evaluation here, we just have to make sure that before the intervention starts, we need to have a very good balance between the treatment and control variable. So I'm not going to go through this one here. There's tables and tables in the report, so we can look at it later here. So the sample size here. So we first started to collect the baseline between August and September 2008. So we had about 2,100 households, and then we also try to leave it for about 2 years, and then we collect our N-line data later on here. And because we don't really want to go too soon to collect N-line because something might going on, and then we'll try to look at here. So with the N-line here, we end up with the 2,500 households, and then out of this, we cannot track all of the households in the baseline. So we lost some kind of the baseline household. But it's not quite high, so we had about 7% of the attrition rate. Right? But we also try to make sure that those who left the group is not significantly different between those who still in the group, right? So we do not find any difference here. And because if you notice in the end line, we end up with about slightly more observation here, partly because we want to look at this child outcome. By the time of 2 years or 3 years later on here, these kids might be the age might be increasing more than 5 years. So we just basically try to add more than observation to increase the power of the result. Okay, so I'm going to show you here is this kind of the evaluating randomization, this triggering state of the villages. So in this case, we got the 8 villages that we want to look at. So in this table in here, we got the 3 source different data here. So the first column in here, this is WSP. So WSP is the guy who implement this program in here. So based on their program, they said that about 83% of the treatment villages they got treated. And then they still about 4% contamination of the control villages, i.e. they are not supposed to be treated, but they got treated. So again, I mean, we just kind of big economists, we just want try to trust your data from one source. So we also try to compete ourselves to make sure all the results robust. We also collect some data. So this is based on the original data we sent in the numerator every few months. We go and check here. Based on our own data in here, we find that the treatment percentage in here is slightly lower compared to what you reported by the WSP. And then so is the skin as well. We got much higher contamination as well for the control village. Right. So
what does the WSP?
So this is a water and sanitation program. So that's part of the water bank program on the right here. Right. So in this case, we usually get about 100%. Villages being treated, right? We still got a few contamination, but in practice, I think we still quite a good number. It's not too bad, and it's not too great as well. But as well. Okay. So let me give you some result. So this is just try to look at the comparison across that mean variable between the treatment and control group here. Before I'm going to show you the type of counts, probably want to try to look at because I mentioned that the mechanism is through the having access to the good sanitation is going to cause this type of counts here. So we look at this one here, we also ask about whether the household have been tried in the past 2 years. So we found that there is in the treatment group in here, it's about 16% with higher compared to the control group in here. Right, so different in here is about 3%. It's not that great, but we still sort of see some impact here, and this is significant. But then we also try to look at, hang on, maybe we just want to try to look at this break these down figures here. Whether those who reach toilet are they different characteristics here. So you look at it here, those who do not have sanitation, so they still do a the toilet. So but the figures are high with the higher the treatment figures compared to control group. And then we also try to look at those who have improved sanitation, they also there's reported a bit higher report the treatment compared to the control group here. So we also try to look at food sanitation change the improve as a result. This construction here could be we just had the jamban grow and then you just build more better laboratory for here. We still sort of quite a bit quite a bit impact here, but there is not statistically significant. So we just come back later why we usually see a lot of impact on this approach. We also asked about that people behavior about open defecation. So in this case, I cannot really show you the comparison model based on the M-line because we only asked this question in the M-line here. So just going to show you here. So the first column in here, just going to ask you whether any householder in your family practice open defecation, regardless of whether they have a toilet or not, right? So we found that in this case, that in our we kind of spot a bit different here. So a treated household, they tend to report lower open defecation, right? And then their results are statistically significant. And then we also see kind of bit improvement impact for the men and then for the children, right? And then we also try to disaggregate, people sometimes say, when you live close to the river, that is kind of an incentive for you just to go to the river, just do everything is going to be washed out. You don't have to worry about cleaning your toilet and so forth here. So we also find evidence that people who live close to the river, they tend to do their business open defecation. They are environmental, but in here, that is a strong case for all, and then for men, and then for the children here. So as you expected here, if we do not live over the river, then could be less probability of you to do your business open defecation. So it's going to be impact. We have some impact for the men and the children here. but we don't really find any significant impact for the women. So there's quite a bit of past here, right? So I'm not really sure what is going on here, but I think one thing we can think about, like women usually just go to the river to wash the clothes, and then they tend to like go in there just as a part of the social aspect of it. Yeah. So that might be one of the reasons why we don't have an impact on these women on this open defecation. So we also asked about what is the attitude to open defecation here. So basically just a range of like questions here. So we have quite a bit like high percentage both in the treatment and control group here. We see that about almost 100% we say if you have a toilet facilities in the village, it's going to be benefit the community as environmental pollution is lessened. And then we also know, having toilet facilities will protect my family members from illnesses like diarrhea. So that is a good. We see that people knowledge about like bad sanitation or bad practices here has some consequences here. But there's quite a bit of worrying as well in here. We have still some kind of about like 30% of the household they say, it is okay for you to be basic environmental, but if you do not have a toilet or latrine at all, right? And then, so since just practicing this open defecation is not really stigmatized, right? So we also asked about this question about, so that those who practice open defecation will not be accepted by the community risk relief. So only about like 1/3 of them say that, being a social design. So it's kind of a mixed news and so on. I just show you this by comparison of these figures from a baseline and end line between treatment and the control group here. We see that there is not much toilet construction going on. So we also asked this household, what kind of obstacles, if you want to try to build a latrine, what do you think is the most constraint for you? So about 50% of the respondents say that mainly is due to the high cost, right? So due to the high cost, and then so part of this program here, they also look at the supply side, but we just due to the timing issue, we cannot really evaluate the supply side here. So the supply side is just a training to local masters to make sure that they can produce a latrine that is going to meet the standard and then what's the public here. And then some of the districts, this part of here, they give access to credit, and then they go through this rotating saving for Paris and Jambang, and then you also pull this community labor, try to build this toilet here. So I mean, supply of the program is kind of in a lag, so that's why this can already meet the demand for here. So that on average, when we ask the household how much going to cost them to build a toilet here, so they said it's cost about US $135 to build a cheap latrine. So that is just a basic latrine, right? So this is kind of approximately like 1/3 of average of the per capita income. So for them, it's kind of something is quite a bit beyond the other here. So I mean, according to this WSPS here, it costs about like 8 to 9 years. So kind of like what's being achieved by building this toilets are way much lower than what the average household is thinking of here. So I mean, that's kind of here. So we're going to try to look at whether that they know who to contact if they want to obtain the treatment, right? So people seems to know about 4.3% in the control community, they don't know who to contact, but only about 9.9%. So it seems that the treatment community they know that who should they contact if they want to so this is this comparison based outcome here for different airline here. So we see that some action going on with this individual diarrhea for the treatment group here. So the treatment group seems to be having a lower diarrhea prevalence based on this program here. So this means that if you use a comparison in, and next I'm going to show you that more using this regression metric setting of the treatment. Also this M line set, this M line and then the baseline. So these are more hard outcome as well here, and then we also ask them to launch a bunch of these criteria of the fecal samples. We got this hemoglobin level for the anemia, and then this is a C-score for weight, height, body mass index. We also have this for the evolution index here. So I mean, that's kind of like give you some kind of descriptive statistics. So let me try to give you more a bit from the regression aspect of it. toilet ID. So this YIJ is basically the outcomes. The outcomes to be in the health outcomes, whether you have diarrhea, or whether that you build a toilet, or whether you have access to improved sanitation, you reduce medication. And then this T is a dummy variable that whether that you are in the treated community or whether you are in the control community. So that's 0 and 1. So as a result, basically, so that this P is going to tell us something about the program. And then we also add about the control as well. So this gamma C here is just we look at this pairwise Petacatan district mixed effect. And then we also try to control for the outcome of the baseline, and then pass a bunch of the other characteristic control just to make sure that we've got the robust check here. We also try to estimate the model conditional on whether household has sanitation baseline or not, because we just want to look at whether there is anything that changes the behavior, right? So for those households who do not have a toilet, they might hopefully that they want to reduce medication and so forth. Try to look at, because if we look at this constraint, we try to look at whether that we will change any behavior by the income. So I'm just going to look at here, when we look at this toilet in the past 2 years, there seems to be quite a bit of effect here, about 3.7% higher in the treatment communities in here. And then the result is quite robust. If we do not have a sanitation baseline, we also see there is an impact here. So there can be systematic evidence that this program is doing something to people doing toilet here. So also for this change in the open defecation practice here, there's kind of a reduction in here. So just try to look at this constraint between the poor and non-poor. We also have some kind of effect here, especially if that for the non-poor, we see some effect that they are doing the toilet here, but we do see an impact of the poor. That's partly because poor because they have this constraint with the reduced quality here. So not just for the sake of time interest, I'm running out before answer that question. Yeah. So just going to go through this diarrhea here. So just to see that this diarrhea that is a systematic regardless of which specific use. We saw that is kids in the treatment household, they tend to get reduction in this diarrhea about 1.3%. So and so forth. And then just let me know to conclude and then what are the lessons we can get from this region here. So it seems that this program that sanitation monitoring here is successful at reducing open defecation. We also seem to that is kind of improving health outcome mainly through the reduction in diarrhea prevalence. So these behavioral changes and then less successful in the sanitation construction here. So again, we see that there's kind of potential gain through the toilet construction length of the tables. So in this program here, we see that TSSM only increased sanitation by 4%, not much here, right? So at the baseline, only 50% can access to food conditions. So it's not doing very great in terms of that what we want to try to get people to do toilet to give food sanitation here. So what we found in here is that the cost and liquidity constraint seems to be the biggest obstacles, right? So if you want to do something to get people to change their behavior and so forth, because you might need to lower the cost of living toilet, right? So you do have to give them money to do that. For example, provide a cheap credit or subsidies or just do the average rotating saving across the community and so forth. So we found that these implementation methods, that the result that we saw in here is based on because we do not get 100% compliance here. We see kind of different complications across here. So again, I'm not too sure. I think Paul and then inside Melissa, you try to crack out what is the framework. What happens if we have 100% implementation? Are we going to get a bigger impact on it? So I guess that is pretty much what to say from our results. So I'm happy to
Thank you, Katie and Susan. So perhaps we have about 10 minutes for discussion. We have two options for the topics. One is about the Center for Development Economics at Monash. The other one is about open defecation in East Java. The choice is yours. Please. Anyone would like to raise any question? Pak Mati, Pak Budi, silakan.
Yes, thank you. Two questions. Simple question. First of all, I would like to hear the vision of the center. And then about this to which level your recommendation to use for implementation? National, provincial, or this? Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity. My question is related to the center. Do you know whether the center has an intention to keep having 3 expertise on Indonesia? Is there a policy of the center to be like that? That is probably our concern, because if we would like to develop a network, we would like to have some insurance that you guys are putting some effort to keep that relationship, because mainly having those expertise in the center. And then second, related to that, Monas has several others expertise on Indonesia through neighborhood position and the people in environment and geography. You haven't mentioned about the center relationship with those things. Something to consider to build those relationship, because the support of embassies on Indonesia should not sometimes not always come from only the economic side. It could come from the other side, which is you could actually benefit to keep the portion on Indonesian interest in the center.
Very interesting questions.
Very interesting questions about the centre, because in fact, in a couple of weeks we're going to have a big talk first about what our direction is, because we've gotten so big and we've got so many different areas. So I'll let you know about that in a few weeks. But there is talk of perhaps having the possibility of having different sections, so a South Asia section and a Southeast Asia section, that kind of thing. And of course Indonesia would be quite strong because Lisa is primarily focused on Indonesia all the time. She's will probably have a focus on Indonesia, but there's certainly a lot of other people in the centre, so it wouldn't be solely on Indonesia. But we're strongly thinking of sort of having sort of research subsections within, and that also includes the sustainability section, so we might even change our name or something to Centre for Development and Sustainability or something like that. So yeah, that's certainly on the cards at the moment. As with the vision, I guess the main focus, being a research university, our vision is high quality research in development economics using the latest research techniques and data and that kind of thing. So that's probably where we're at the moment. We also probably want to think a little bit more about, can we introduce a policy side? That's probably not our I guess, comparative expertise, but in terms of being able to I guess link up with various bodies or help to sort of get things moving in terms of what our research tells us, how does that influence policy that we're going to need to sort of try and bridge that gap a little. But we're still in our very early stages. That launched last year. I think it was last year our launch. So we're still trying to work it out. But yeah, I think there's a lot of body there and a lot of passion there, so hopefully we'll get there. In terms of the other disciplines, that's certainly something that I guess we're sort of looking towards the Sustainability Institute area at the moment, and within that I guess there's a lot of Indonesia-related people as part of that group. And Lisa and I have actually been to Kalimantan with a few people from the Arts Faculty and the Sustainability Institute to try and get some work happening there. And so I guess that will hopefully happen at the time as well.
So back to the second page, one. So that is a program is actually like
study from East Java here, then we are quite lucky that because I think that Lisa and Lisa, they managed to try to convince these people, convince the community to try to get this recognization for phase 2. So the phase 2 and phase 3, they actually just basically place the program without recognition. Right? So the idea is that we just want to try to scale up this program to the rest of Indonesia. So I think probably just try, because there is already a lot of evidence out there here, so that we try to start with a small step, try to look at what is the rigorous evidence of impact evaluation, and then it's just from this small scale here, can we learn anything about this when we are trying to scale up the program here? Because when you're talking about this program here, it's not very cheap, right? So it's quite big costly. So I think we paid quite a lot of money just to try to get this survey to India here. So again, it's kind of this problem we try to scale up this to the rest of the country. Right? Indonesia is quite heterogeneous, so whatever in East Java might not be applicable to the next country. There's something, hopefully just from this small scale, we might be able to try to, learn about something, what was the one that's work. Even though that this program did not create a huge impact on what we want, right? So the first time when I started this program, when I tried to run all the programs and do as much as I can, I kind of scratch my head off with Lisa, and Lisa is responding that, what should we do? Should we still report this or what? Right? So I guess I think part of this, part of us as a researcher here, even though that we managed to answer, we come up with interesting questions, I believe that the kids even though that it's more like econometric based, but probably they have some kind of policy implication. But we also want to, not only come with a good question, important, interesting question, but we want to make sure that we also know how to answer it quite good, right? So there is no point you can come up with a good answer, good question, interesting question, but you answer it badly. So that is not what we want. So if that is, I think that's more transparency needed. So we just report this what we found, not because that, most of the time, we just report that this what other people want the result of us. So yeah.
Thank you, Kate and Susan. I think now it's time for our 15 minutes break. So we will reconvene at about 10 to 4 for the academic publishing session. For now, please join me to thank the 4 speakers here.
Oh, yang motor. Lanjut lagi. Dia saya lanjut yang terakhir.
Ada link sama. Tadi aku udah bilang, kamu jelasin betul kan?
Apa persen? Mana?
Oh iya. Mana nggak? Mana video? Udah cuma
Jadi kalau yang bersifat ini kan single count ya, jadi kita bisa karena stepping by that
Ya, sekarang dia mau kopi. Habis itu
Saya tanya secara metodologi hasilnya itu kan apa ya itu banyak melalui pertanyaan saya bagaimana dia kontrol tingkat dari potensi program lain karena itu kan dari sisi komunikasi bukan di luar dengan secara metodologi setiapnya ada cara untuk membuat bias dan untuk itu jadi presentasi itu perpanjang lagi. Oh iya, makanya tadi itu asap kan. Jadi itu bagaimana dia itu impact dari program lain.
Sampai puluh
Indonesian Intro English Instruction Session 3.
Kekuatannya kurang.
Pak Leo, ya, masih sana, masih. Ya, jadi dia Indonesia sebenarnya kan sudah
Jauh definisi.
Iya. Masih sampai banyak kasusnya
itu yang tadi sebenarnya apa ini pas aja maksudnya jaringan-jaringan yang ada di sana tidak akses ke bisa dimanfaatkan juga betul tapi dengan sama logika juga karena gubernurnya sebenarnya cukup gubernur lingkarannya cukup ketat juga ya saya waktunya juga lain lagi kan
referensinya ya
gubernur lumayan karena lama di Eropa kan
ya udah ngerti ya
lebih terbuka lah waktu gubernur kan lama di hutan nah menarik sebenarnya melihat kontestasi di antara mereka berdua kan menurut saya sebenarnya perlu dua-duanya perlu orang lapangan yang hebat seperti orang ini kan ex-kombatan nih suka nggak suka harus dia hebat di lapangan
ya
buktinya bisa negosiasi dan bisa memobilisasi orang demikian hebat kan langsung urusan bendera yang sedang ribut
iya
mobilisasinya hebat dia very street smart kan tapi turun sebuah provinsi government bisa cukup dengan street smart harus ada yang school smart oke lah kalau misalnya Pak Gubernur kita karena dia dokter kemudian lama di Eropa tangkaplah dia school smart kan karena bagaimana street smart sama school smart ini saling mengisi sering terjadi pengalaman yang sebelum-sebelumnya yang menurut Depdagri kan memang gubernurnya bupati dan wakil bupati pecah di tengah jalan itu juga banyak seperti itu periode sebelumnya periode sekarang ini kan baru sebelum kemarin ini negara di tingkat provinsi malah sekarang Kami juga tahun periode sebelumnya tingkat provinsi juga masalah kan masyarakat tahu pecah. Iya, pecah. Ini katanya juga ada negara yang mau pecah. Saya dua-duanya diperlukan Pak. Street smart, smart. Street smart aja.
Baik, selamat sore semua. Good afternoon. My name is Arianto Patundru. I wish I were the editor of Bulletin of Indonesian Studies. So there's a mistake in the schedule. I'm not the editor, I'm the book review editor. So he's Pierre van der Eng and I'm here. I'm going to moderate this session and I have a mandate to talk about a little bit about BEIS. Unfortunately, Pierre van der Eng could not be here. But also, I think in the room there are two people who are much more knowledgeable than I am with regards to BEIS, Bulletin of Indonesian Economic Studies. Chris Manny is here. He was once the editor, I think, and also he is still the editor for comparative studies. Yeah, Pak Chris, yeah. Comparative. There's always a paper in BIS on comparative studies within Indonesia and other countries, and the editor for that particular paper is Pak Chris Manny. And of course, and he was the former head of the project. And Pak Budi himself, Budi Sosdarmo, was the book review editor before me. So I just took this position just recently for the next April edition this year. And also with me, my mentor, Pak Tae Kian Wee, who is...
No, mistake. I'm your Abhidana.
Pak Tae is the editor of EFI, previously known as ECI. Ekonomi dan Keuangan Indonesia, and it became English journal in early 2004. It became 100% English academic journal. So it's international journal. Its name now became. The name now is EFI, Economics and Finance in Indonesia. It is hosted in LPM, University of Indonesia, and Pak Tae is the editor along with co-editor along with Zakir Mahmud, Kadek, and Kiki.
No, it is in.
Oh man, yeah.
No,
Zakir Mahmud.
is Zakir, Kadek, and the editor is expensive.
Oh, Pak Tae will talk about it more. And then the third speaker is Maria Monica Wiharja. She is the editor of IQ, Indonesian Quarterly, journal posted in CSES. So first, I would like to give some information about BIES. Some brief background. It is founded by Professor Arndt. And has been in continuous publication since 1965. Actually, EFI is older than the bulletin. It is housed in the Indonesia project in Uncoordinated Department of Economics, ANU. It is now published by Taylor and Francis Group worldwide, but it also has distribution in Indonesia managed by CSES. So I put some samples outside. Maybe some of you already have it. The look is a bit different with what you get in Indonesia distribution because we have CSES reprints the journal in Indonesia, but with slightly different covers. It is financially supported by the OSA and ANU, published 3 times a year, April, August, and December. So the most recent one is April. Where is Katie? Katie is the author of the most recent survey of recent development in April issue. No, with it. Yeah. So
one thing that is particular, that is unique with this journal, is that it has this article called Survey of Recent Development. So it's nowhere in other journals. EKI or EVI used to have tinjauan tribulanan. Maybe some of you still remember, but for some reason it's not there anymore. But BIS still have in every issue survey of recent developments. So it's very good, but it's also very a challenge to the editors because it's very updated, very timely. The editor always has to run after the author. Katie can tell. The pressure is on the author on submitting the manuscript because, for example, for April, Katie has to submit the final one in early March, I think. Yeah, but there is this process in ANU and then in the vendor and teller entrances and so on. So it's quite an experience. The impact factor is quite high, 1.4, almost 1.5, 2011. VPAC impact factor is 1.9, 1.6. ERA rank, ERA is excellent. What is excellence in research academic or something? There is a Australian ranking for it's not really effective now, but some people still refer to it, and this journal is actually ranked A. So it's quite. This is the current editorial board. So the editor is Pierre van der Eng. The managing editor is Ben Wilson. For a long time it was under Liz Drysdale. Now we have new editor Ben Wilson. I serve as the book review editor, and then Chris Manning, of course, and then we have editorial board including Pak Budiono, Bumeri, and Pak Tekiadwi himself, and we have advisory board including Ibu Armida, Pak Iwan Aziz. Mas Asep is also there in advisory board. What gets published? So these are the things that we publish. And the area studies, somebody asked me before, is it just for economics? No, it's quite broad. ASEAN studies, development economics, finance. This is based on gender classification. Finance, business and industry, international political economy, and so forth. Increasingly, political science paper also we publish a lot of political economy paper. In fact, if we look at the website, the most read articles as of March 27 when I prepared this slide, it's by political scientist Simon Butt. The paper is anti-corruption reform in Indonesia, an obituary, and then an economic paper, FDI and growth in East Asia, lesson for Indonesia. This is the top 3 most read articles as of 27th March. And then the third one is also political economy paper, Indonesian politics in 2011, democratic regression, and Yudhoyono's regal incumbency. And then this is just to give you some information. The most cited articles is by Monica with Mark from the World Bank, and the second one also Ross McLeod. It's also a survey. So the survey of recent development actually have quite high citation. And in fact, the journal has a very high citation just right in the aftermath of the crisis 97-98, because everybody wants to know about Indonesia at that time, right? So the survey of recent development 98, Chris has a very high citation. In addition to the papers, we also publish guest editors introduction. Sometimes we have a special issue and we invite guest editor. Neil McCulloch was once a special a guest editor. I think it's for Rice issue in 2008. Neil McCulloch and Peter Timmer were the guest editors for that special issue. And then also sometimes from time to time we have in memoriams for scholars who have contributed a lot to the literature on Indonesia. And then of course we have book reviews and thesis abstracts. So we encourage students who just graduated and to also publish their abstract in their BIS. Max has done it, right? Important weights. What is actually, well, I consulted this with Pierre, the editor, and the most important aspect for papers to be published actually first the idea, novelty, it's new or new ideas, and of course relevance to Indonesia and the methodology. So if you have a paper full of derivation, theorem, lemma, and things like that, it might not get published in BIS without any relevance to Indonesian development. But also encourage is relevance to Indonesia, but with comparative perspectives with other countries. So that's, and now, sorry if you cannot read this, but the message of these slides actually, Indonesians are still underrepresented in this journal. So few Indonesian authors published in this journal, sadly. So I just take from 2000 to until 2013, the latest one. If you look at the authors, actually Indonesians, well, there's been some progress because when Mas Budi joined the Indonesia project, it's 0 point something per year. The composition, the proportion of Indonesian authors out of the total authors for 1 year, 0.%. So we encourage our colleagues in Indonesia to submit papers here. So for example, if I take 2013, the latest one here, there is 5 papers included in the edition, in the issue. Only one, well, there's 4 Indonesians, okay, that Teguh Dartanto, Nurholis, Susan Olivia, but Susan is actually outside, and Kunta Nugraha, but he wrote that when he was still in the University of Canberra. Now he's back to Indonesia. So we're still underrepresented. And even more so if I take out those who write survey of recent developments. Why? Because for survey of recent development, we usually invite. So it's by invitation. Is that right, Pak Chris? So the normal procedure, you submit double blind, what do you call it? Double blind reviews actually applies for papers that are not survey of recent development. If I take that out, then this will become more worrying actually. And even here, I also listed those who are co-authored with non-Indonesian authors. So if I take that again, even more, very little amount of Indonesian authors. Oh, one information from those very few Indonesian authors, there is one person who writes most frequently, and it's Pak Ted Janwi. So, that from 2000, I think I have his name like 7 or 8 there in total. So it's a lot. So that's from BIS. So we really encourage our colleagues, our friends in this network to submit their papers. Of course, we still have this review process. Sometimes it's painful. Even for survey of recent development, I think there are many in this room have written survey. Monica, Mas Budi, of course, Daniel, have written survey. It's even though it's by invitation, but they still torture it. So, but once you get it's published, it's very good to have our papers. So that's from my side. So let's move on to Pak Teja. Let's just present all of us, three of us, and then we take questions later on. Okay, Pak Te.
Well, I think this economy that Indonesia was already published, and the Dutch was still here. It was published, I think, in 1948, and it was published under the name Maandblad voor Financiën, Financial Monthly, and then renamed Economic and Finance in Indonesia, Ekonomi dan Keuangan Indonesia, in the early 1950s. But then, in early 2004, the then director of the Institute of Economics and of Social and Economic Research of the Faculty of University of Indonesia, who was then Dr. Iksan, and the Dean of the Faculty of Economics, Dr. Bambang Brojonegoro, asked me to become the editor since they wanted to become a full English language journal. And this is not a false modesty, but I told my wife, I've been asked not because I'm a great economist, which I certainly am not, but because my English is frankly generally better than the others because I speak Dutch, and Dutch and English are the same. So, all the same. I speak Dutch with Dr. Sparrow. He's of Dutch. And it's nice, you know, we talk to him for in a language which most all of you don't understand. When I took on the job, now this is being, first I said I cannot do the job alone, so I asked Dr. Arianto Patundro, who was very good, and he gave very good inputs, you know, because frankly speaking, I mostly concentrated my work on improving the English. Sometimes it took a whole day just to improve English. But Pak Acho really gave really substantive comments. But since Pak Acho now left for ANU, you know, the co-editor is Dr. Zakir Mahmud, the present day director of the Institute of Economic and Social Research. Well, we have also, of course, distinguished editorial board, which consists of Pak Acho, Pak Budi, Pak Dede, Iwan Asis, Sudrajat, Pak Asep, and Pak Sudarno. And we have also an advisory board consisting of Professor N. Boos from SOAS in London, Pierre Van of ENU, Hill, Geoffrey Hewings, University of Illinois, and Urbanus Jevits. Was he your oh, I should also say, I'm praising him not because he gave me an envelope, but Pak Acho got an award from me for having produced the best doctoral dissertation in '72. Yeah. So he's very smart. Peter Mokoli, Chris Benning, Sandor Arjen, Doni and Joko. Until you were born. When you were born, I was already 3 years PhD. But you're much smarter than I am. This we intended it to be not only an English but also a rhetoric journal. But frankly speaking, we send it only to Indonesian referees because knowing Chris and Hal and Pierre, Hal, Jeffrey Blames, Peter McCauley, Chris Manning, and Eric Ronstadt and Thomas Lindbergh. I never dared to send these papers to the foreign members of the editorial board or the advisory board. I only sent it mostly, the referees are mostly from the fact that the University of Indonesia. The first one was ini sudah mulai pikun, ini susah. But most of the referees are not so tough as foreigners. So, but yeah, I think at the beginning it's okay. And some of them are very, very good. So we have now this already the 9th year of this publication, and you know, when I first undertook this job, Hal said to me, "You're wasting your time," but I didn't agree with him because I think I consider this as the only or not a good forum for a young Indonesian economist, also of course for very old economists like me, as a forum to present their research findings. And I'm glad we looked at the website, and I also looked at several other publications. Several of our articles in this paper already quoted in other journals, which is very gratifying. So I've told Hal, I don't agree. Now it's actually mission secret. I consider it together with my other colleagues as very good for young Indonesian economists to present their findings. And those of you who want to contribute to the paper, to this journal, I would very much welcome it. Of course, sometimes the comments from the may be really tough, some are more lenient, but I would really, really invite you to send the papers to this journal. I have given you a lot of my emails. I will also get the email addresses of the co-editor, Dr. Zakir Mahmoud, so that we can present. And for instance, you have already contributed to this journal, and Pak Asep has also contributed to this journal. Arif already, so if you have more, it will enhance. It will show Indonesian economists are also internationally competitive. That is the mission statement of our journal. Maybe I also take this opportunity to put some propaganda, because my center has also published this. The review of Indonesian economic and business studies. It was started by two of my younger colleagues, by Zamroni Salim, who got his PhD at the University of Nagoya, and Agus Eko Nugroho of the Curtin University. And I also worked, actually I'm a little bit schizophrenic because I had to make propaganda for two journals. But it's up to you. Objectively speaking, of course, this is a better journal. But as a Lipi man, I also would like to advise you to give this. And if your paper may be rejected by AP, because it's an anonymous reference, I welcome you. I would very much welcome to accept papers who are rejected by BIS or by AP. Because I also want to develop this journal into a good journal. So please contribute to anything. I cannot force you, course, but please contribute to papers. Yes, I'm also a member of the editorial board. Yes, I'm a co-editor, and yes, I'm on the advisory board. So please, to enhance the quality of Indonesian economic journals, please contribute to any of these journals. Yeah, thank you very much. One thing, I don't like to use elbows, but she's competitor, she is. So please don't send your articles to the Indonesian Quarterly.
Okay, with that, I give the floor to Monica to compliment Pate.
I always wish that Pate is a comedian, not an economist. Before I talk about the Indonesian Quarterly, I just want to talk about a little bit about the philosophy of CSIS, because I think that's what's based the content and substance and the spirit of the Indonesian Quarterly. So many of you may have known that CSIS was established in 1971. The philosophy of CSIS was with the logo, with its logo and inscription that reads "Nalar Ajar Terusan Budi," which means something like at least what is written in the journal says to think and to share knowledge are the natural consequences of an enlightened mind. But I like what Pak Daud Yusuf, one of our co-founders, just recently said in the opening of CSIS new building in Tanah Abang. He said that what makes him stay at CSIS and still very productive and prolific and still going to CSIS once in a while was because he believed that CSIS was based on philosophy that we always try to find reasons, but he said that heart has reasons that reasons cannot explain. So there's a deeper spiritual fundamental of philosophy from why we're doing what we're doing. He also said that the young researchers, including myself, should not only know about what we study, not only know about our knowledge, but I also have to know what others are doing. So he said, don't be the slave of knowledge. You have to know what other people are doing, what other people are researching. So I think based on this, I can see that why the Indonesian Quarterly somehow reflect the CSIS philosophy. First of all, the IQ was established or started its publication in 1973. It's a policy-oriented journal, so it's non-technical. So we're not really a competitor. We're more policy-oriented. We are more technical. And we're more comprehensive than just economic and finance. So we cover not only economics but domestic politics, political economy, international affairs, strategic issues. What else? It's usually the contributors includes not only academics but also statement. Like we publish like the president's speech, and just recently I asked ministers, Minister Gita Luyawan or Vice Minister Mahendra Sregar to contribute to our journal. So they also write to us, and of course just thinkers, just anybody who wants to contribute their thoughts to the journal. I have to say that I'm an editor of this journal not because of my credentials or my qualifications. It's because of the situation, I guess. So Hadi Susastro the late Hadi Susastro used to take care of this journal, and I found out that he basically did everything from collecting articles to proving the final draft. So when I felt to my institutions that this international quarterly still have to continue after Pak Hadi Susatro passed away. I have to take care of the journals, and then I still remember calling Pak Teh to help me. I was like, please contribute, because I don't have any network. I don't have any wide networks to collect papers as Pak Hadi had before. So I just asked my colleagues, including Pak Teh, to contribute to the journal. So it's, I have to say that this is a really good journal, but in a way that we might not have, as high capacity as what other journals have. So when I took over the Indonesian Quarterly from the late Hadi Susastro, I have to struggle from collecting articles. So basically, I use networks. There are people who contributed to the journal, but then I think what Pak Hadi had done was calling his friends, to contribute, and it was very easy for him, of course, to invite authors to contribute to the journal. So at that time, I just come back from my study, and I didn't have many authors. So there was a challenge for me as an editor to ask people to write. And in terms of the review process, so we have peer review in-house, basically. So when all the articles that come will be distributed to reviewers in-house, mostly. If there's no experts in-house that can review the articles, of course we ask someone outside to review the journal, but it's a peer review journal. And then usually I did the final proof, just some English editings, and then just in terms of the format, like that. The authors are, I would say that 50% foreigners, 50% Indonesians, so it's quite balanced. We give honorarium to Indonesians, but not to non-Indonesians because of the transferring of payments issues. And it's partly in-house because we always encourage CSIS researchers to contribute also to the journal. And the review of economic and political developments are always written by our in-house researchers. What else? So in terms of the challenges in terms of the barriers for publishing for authors, of course, like one issue is English, but usually I don't really get articles that have bad English, too bad of English, unlike what Effie might receive. So maybe a part of the reason is because people who knows about our journals and also people who we invite are usually from like more of like a close circle. So these are people who might already have good English to begin with. Usually their problems are usually when people want to contribute and they hesitate to contribute. It's usually because they don't know exactly what kind of journals and what kind of articles our journal publishes. So their questions usually what kind of journals what kind of journals you have, and then in terms of also the format, how we should write our articles, things like that. And yeah, as already said, in terms of barriers, in terms of me as an editor, I think one is again, having people to contribute to our journal. So again, I would like to sell also my journal, so people to publish in the Indonesian Quarterly. And of course, like getting readers. So I have statistics here. So the IQ have in total, at least this is from last year, IQ has 125 customers. We also sell in Gramedia bookstores. 14 from 125 are from embassies, 5 from think tanks, 21 from academics, 3 from government, 11 from retail and company, and 71 from overseas. So we also send our journals overseas. And again, as I said earlier, I mean, in terms of capacity, it's it's a small kind of team, editorial team. And then lastly, maybe in terms of sustainability. So right now, the Indonesian Quarterly is not making profit, so we're still making loss. But we keep this journal, and I thought this journal to be continued just because of, I think, the importance of having this journal. Yeah, maybe that's.
Thank you.
The best economic journal in Southeast Asia is arguably the Singapore Economic Review. And it is together with my colleagues at the editorial board, it is my hope and my effort to, if not right, at least approach the quality of the Singapore Economic Review. And I do request you to contribute to the economic and finance in Indonesia. There's only one problem. If Pak Budi or Pak Kacho, even though they are Indonesians, but they live in Australia, I don't have to give you a fee, no. But I would very much welcome it. It will enhance the quality if good international known Indonesian economists contribute. And of course, also from great foreign economists like Pak Chris or Pak Nino or Pak Daniel. Yeah, well, maybe it will not really give you so many credits to become a professor, but at least you do something for the Indonesian.
Now can we have your responses to our 1, 2, 3. Yang belakang dulu, silakan.
Thank you, Pak Cok. My question is to Pak T for Eki. I heard that Eki or AFI is not accredited anymore for the dictee. This is very important for the lecturer in Indonesia because it's not accredited anymore, even because internationalized, but because the domicile is in Indonesia. That's, I mean, still regarded as Indonesian. That's, I mean, what is the status of accreditation in right now? Because since 2009 or 2008, it's not accredited anymore. That's my question, Pak.
Silakan balik, kita kumpul, kita collect question dulu. Silakan.
I'm not sure if this 3 journal also did lot of rejection or only with 5 authors. If you did rejection or based on your experience as editors, what are the main reasons that a paper or article failed to pass the journal, whether the coherence issue or the language that the author used, or is it because the geographical? So if you can tell me, the main problem of the articles.
Okay, thank you. Mas Sony. Dina, you have question?
Yes. I address my question to 3 of you. How do you view or evaluate the quality of how do you view or evaluate the quality of public contribution of the accreditation to the effort to improve the quality of publication of scientific journals in Indonesia? That's my
My question is from yes. Are you already at the stage where you're doing affirmative action for more Indonesians? Yes, that's great. We'll take the chance. The second question, is there certain preference for methodology? I noticed that quantitative approach gets more coverage there. Do you reject based on methodology? And how far would you, when I evaluate journal article, usually there are some ranks, right? Before you fully reject something, what is the tolerance rate or something? What's the cutoff if one is being accepted or not?
Thank you, that's tough. I don't think I can answer that. That has to be addressed to Pierre van der Eng, but I'm hoping that Chris and Mas Budi can also comment on that. But I can only give you or share my experience as a book review editor, and I rejected this. I had to reject one of these book reviews because here's what I get. He or she sent his or her reviews of one book that just came out, and then the review only says this book is really bad, and then he or she goes like 6 or 7 paragraphs talking about something else, about Indonesia, of course, about Indonesian development, Indonesian recent challenges. So I think that's not what we want. As we want some kind of constructive opinion to BIS readers about upcoming book, so that they can decide. They have well information about the book, so that they can decide whether or not to buy or to read the book. So that's an example of bad review that we have to reject. I talk sometimes with Pierre and also Budi. Halhil was the previous editor of BIS, and I think this pretty much summarizes the weights that they put on papers to be accepted in BIS. So it's the idea, novelty, relevance to Indonesia, and then methodology, in that order. Correct me if I'm wrong, my colleagues from ANU. But I think that's a fair, that's in that order. So if it's new idea, I think it has a better chance. The nitty-gritty methodology, very rigorous, I think that comes second, even third or fourth. But the way you approach problems and how to frame the issue, I think is much more important. Of course, the relevance to Indonesia. Affirmative action, maybe not. I can only talk about survey of recent development because in survey of recent development we do that by invitation, and I think the initial idea is to pair an Indonesian author with someone from outside. Why? Because we are afraid that Indonesian authors, scholars who live in Indonesia are extremely busy with other things, consulting, teaching, and everything. So we are worried by the time we have to submit the manuscript to Taylor and Francis, they are not ready yet. So we have to have someone to hammer, and that someone has to be usually comes from outside or even from ANU. So I think that's my reaction. But before I give to Pak Te and Monica, Chris, did I miss something important? Do you want to add?
don't think so, but I guess BIS does, within Indonesia, does have a little bit of a reputation of being neo-lib, shall we say. It's certainly an economics journal, and it's certainly quantitatively oriented within it. So, I mean, in that sense, they're mostly economics papers, and they're mostly quantitative. The good news for the younger generation is that when Heinz Hart ran the journal, he had a policy of never having an equation. You were not allowed to have one equation. But in modern times, you're now allowed to have equations. So for the younger generation, that's a positive thing. But I guess the only other thing, pairing of foreigners and Indonesians is partly, I think, what would infer, because quite often the foreigners don't know that much about Indonesia. And so it's often a very complementary pairing, I think. And of course, it's not always the Indonesians that are very busy. Sometimes it's the foreigners and the Indonesians to make sure it gets
Okay,
through.
thanks. Mas Budi.
A little bit on rejection rate. So you get rejected by two things. One is the editor thinks that this is not worth it to be reviewed. So the editor has the right to say, okay, we just take it. But these days, I think if it is come from Indonesian author, we typically quite careful. Here, typically, ask me or how, okay, I have this paper, it's okay to go to reviewer or not. The main reason for not giving a bad paper to the reviewer is because we need to maintain the relationship with the reviewer. But the reviewer doesn't really have any much incentive for doing review, so we would like to make sure that at least they gain some knowledge when they review the paper. But many of them also get rejected through the review process. I don't really know right now the rate, but Rosmecquad used to be quite high in terms of rejection rate. And that is combination between the two, between the pace of the editor and the review process. So, yeah, 10 years ago we do have a program to basically provide incentive for Indonesian author, which is we have giving award, yeah, for Indonesian authors. But after a while, there was several years that no Indonesian authors at the time, so then we forgot what the award.
Asep was the first person
to
get it.
Asep actually was the first person to get it. So yeah, in terms of our
he's forgotten. Too many awards.
Oke, terima kasih Pak Des, Mas Budi. Okay, I now invite Pak Teh to respond.
First of all, about the accreditation. A few years ago, when Kiki Kiriko was still the managing editor, we were invited by the Directorate of Higher Education to explain the purpose or the goal of the economic finance in Indonesia. And I thought the best way to overwhelm him is to flood him with a diarrhea of words, you know, and with a very strong plea. So there is, I think, 3 classifications. A is excellent, B is slightly above average, and C is really bad. We got a B, even so maybe he was based with my diary of words, but then I discovered that the only journals which had reached an A were journals on science and engineering. So I thought maybe the committee consists mostly of scientists rather than economists or other social scientists. But B is okay. And if we are invited again, I will again make a very strong argument of classifying our journal as A instead of B. B is not good enough. As regards to the Journal of Economic Finance in Asia, I should also explain that it just doesn't cover only pure, say, macroeconomic articles. We also, and we have already published articles on business history by a Dutch business economist, Marlene Gieleman, who is now working at NES, because she sent us a very interesting article about the Salim group, in which she emphasized that the transformation of this conglomerate from a connection-based to a market-based. They become very lean and they become much more competitive. I found that very interesting. We have also included in AV articles on economic history by Thomas Lindblad and by two Dutch and by Van Klaver, Alex Klaver, who wrote about the Borsume when English was still the name was English. We also have published an article on economic geography, so our scope is much wider than only economic articles. So if you want to publish and enhance the quality of not the only, but we are good friends, but as regards to scientific, I do not hesitate at all to use my elbows, So don't send it to IQ, even so, unless you are, but I published one article at IQ because I got answer. But send it to AP. Then you will only get, as Indonesian, you will get, I think, only 400,000, less than 100,000. But foreigners don't get anything, but there was no reason call for Patres, for Hell, and Thomas Lindblad to send articles. So please send more, so that you can contribute to the enhancing quality of the only good Indonesian economic journal. Of course, well, and if you are not so sure, what is that? Thank you.
Well, thank you, but yeah, I think it's problematic in terms of remuneration to the author. So when I was a co-editor and also the director of LPM, I was hesitating to give remuneration or payment to even Indonesian authors, because I think that's not the culture of writing in journals. But we still do that just to encourage more and more publication in AV by Indonesian authors. But as Pak Teh mentioned, the number is very 400,000. You write in Tempo, one page 600,000, double page 1,2, 1.2 million. So you do the math, right? If you are more interested with the money, you write in Tempo. You don't need to think. I hope there's no Tempo. The torture is not that painful, but you get 1.2, and then you have to submit in AP, and then you have to wait 6 months before your article appears, and then they only give you 400,000. So yeah, that's the problem. Monica.
Well, first of all, regarding rejected papers, I think, currently the IQ is being managed, or we have two editors right now, myself and then my colleague Fifi. But then, as far as the publications for the past years that I edited, we were quite lenient in terms of not rejecting papers. So the kind of papers that were rejected during my management were basically very so-called very bad papers, in the sense that either they are incomplete, or it's completely irrelevant to the points that we cannot even think of a reviewer for that papers, a very a very like I don't know, specific issues that I could not even like understand what the authors is trying to say, the message, things like that. And I have to say that I at least in my management I do reject papers which are in English, because I really want to encourage Indonesian writers to write. So I try my best, to accommodate the bad English. Yeah, so we usually give first chance at least for authors to revise, and it's only when the authors do not want to revise, then we reject papers. But most of the times we will say like, if there's still like things that we didn't like about the papers, we will say like, please revise. But then, yeah, we will always give a chance for the authors to revise. So, yeah, I think part of the reasons that we're not being tough, is because of the purpose of this journal. It's maybe the only one journal in Indonesia that publishes in English with this kind of like wide fields, not like the only publishing in finance. But yeah, I mean, I see the importance of these journals. That's why I don't want it to die. So I always encourage authors to write, and not being very restrictive in terms of the quality. Although of course, like we have standards in terms of course, like the backgrounds of the authors and things like that. As you see, like yeah, I just would like also to mention that this is the last publications. This is last year's publication of the last publication that I edited myself. So the latest one was edited by my colleague. But then this is from last year. It was published in December last year, early January this year. So I have people from the ministries, including Sherpa, and then also like Peter Drysdale, relevant, really high-profile people to write for the journal. And these are the articles that are products of closed roundtables that were being held at CSIS. So this is also sort of articles that we produce. So it's not necessarily like technical articles, academic articles. So as you know, CSIS often hold like closed roundtables that like only limited participants come. But then we try to publish the results of those closed roundtables in like our journal. So that's why I think also that it's very important that we publish, continue to publish this journal. In terms of the quality of publication of journals in Indonesia, I'm not really sure if I get the questions right, but yeah, I mean, I think, of course, like Indonesian journal is not as competitive or not like in terms of the quality as like journals in other countries, but then we also have to kind of like understand the stage of our kind of like academic standing. I mean, of course we always try, for better, but then I think it's okay, not to have like a journal that is, as having quality as good as like other journals in other countries, because we have to see that there are many other people in Indonesia. We're not even thinking like people in the regions. I mean, if I look at IQ, it's mostly written by people in Jakarta, and still there are people in other regions that still would like to publish their papers published in English, and so in a way we have to be sort of like open, to people who are still striving to write. The IQ is not accredited, but we had some discussion, to make
the IQ accredited and be like kind of like a accredited international journal. But of course, we have to have like a stronger team and reviewers and editorial board. So yeah, I guess right now we're still working together.
Thank you, Monica. Pate wants to add something on the problem of English. I remember when I was also with AFI, sometimes we struggle between accepting a paper that is really good in content, but it's really bad in English. So usually the decision is to accept that, but we send it to native speaker first to help with the English. So we have this. I don't know now, but probably Pate can explain the process now. Can you?
Sometimes we receive papers which are quite good, the contents, but the English is very bad. We have, as Ajo said, we have a native speaker, Mrs. Thea Wilson. I think she's Australian living in Bandung. But since, of course, it's very expensive, if the English is not too bad, I will correct the English as best as I can, even though I'm not an native English speaker. But if it's too bad, now, because of course our native speaker editor is not cheap, we now send the paper back and said, please improve your English. So if he or she is really highly motivated to publish an AV, I think she will maybe ask a native speaker editor to improve the English. It's much easier if the quality is so bad that you have just to check. And we have sometimes also said, and we are sorry, but this is not publisher quality. Because no matter how this, unless he or she writes a totally different paper, this cannot be repaired anymore.
Thank you, Pate. Yes?
I'm just trying to, I'm just trying to work out the knowledge around here. Because what I've heard people say is that you need to publish in order to advance in the academic role, right? That you need for the points that, and for functional positions in the ministries, this is also necessary, also for the research centers. So in theory, shouldn't your journals be flooded with papers? But shouldn't people send you stuff and say, please publish because they need it for their advancement? I just don't understand, and maybe this is due to the accreditation process. Monkey said that the IQ wasn't accredited, but I just don't get this job. There should be a huge supply, and you should be sorting off papers saying, oh, this is not good enough, and instead of giving envelopes, they should be giving you envelopes and saying, please publish this.
Good point. Yes, we do receive many submissions actually, but of course, as Pate mentioned, some we have to reject, some we have to postpone. Sorry, I'm talking about AFI as a former editor at AFI. This is not BIS. I forget. But yes, at that time we sometimes we have to return the manuscripts to the author saying that you have to improve this and that. And some authors decided not to resubmit. Okay, and there was once this policy from DIPTI saying that in order to get promotion docent, they have to publish in international journal. And at that time, international journal in Indonesia is only AV and IQ. Okay, so we have lots of submission, but as you said, I mean, so many of them are really not good, really not worthy of publication. So we have to. There was one time we had to make many rejections, but I don't know, maybe other colleagues can also have an idea or comment on it. But Chris, you have.
I just want to say, wasn't it true then that there was a proliferation of journals right across the economics world in Indonesia, because English language journals were I don't know what the score was, but they got a certain recognition for dictate, and so Georgia had them all over the place, and there's no distinction by quality at all there. It's just one size fits all.
There is one thing that I'd like to share about this junior business thing in Indonesia. It's something that I don't like, which is in Indonesia, all program study, not university, not department. Under the department has program study. All program study, it has to be, if they want to be accredited, they have to have their own journals. That's crazy. That's not something good to do, because that's really inbreeding. It is really a place for it. So the answer to the question is that there are plenty of them, and journal that we can submit with very bad quality, and it's accredited. I think FE is the best economic journal in Indonesia that can be highlighted up even to the international. If you can measure that, the potential of that. And IQ is accredited in Scopus international journals. So I think FE Republic can learn from IQ how if journal index in Scopus, then we can consider it as international. If IQ can do that, I think IQ can do that too. Potential can do that. So we need to do something about it. Mostly association is not only in abroad. Association is the organization that normally publish journals. And another thing, Pak Ajok, if you don't, the credit for one international journal can be replaced by 2 national journals, 2 or 3.
But there's no distinction on quality.
Why do you bother? Spend 2 years of your life. When you want to be professor, you just need to try some national
Arif, can I ask you one question about Scopus? I don't know if I'm correct or wrong, because I remember one of these meetings in Depok with Dekan at that time. I was still Kepala LTN, and there was a big debate, because at that time some of the docents in FAUI wants FE to be listed in Scopus. And then we checked, it's really expensive just to get listed in Scopus. And at that time, I had been struggling to have subscription to JSTOR, Elsevier, Sense and all. And at that time, FAUI didn't even have renewal membership of JSTOR. So I raised my hand and I said that forget about Scopus. Use the money to subscribe to JSTOR, because the students need access to good journals. So at that time, the decision is not to. But is it still, if you want to list in Scopus, really expensive?
I'm not sure about how it costs, but basically, getting listed in Scopus is not only about money, as far as I know, but also look at, to a large extent, the quality, the quality of the journal, so how regular it is, the process, so it's kind of a really restaurant. And it's quite widely. It's the biggest database in science. Of course, there are debates about it.
What is Scopus? Could you define it?
Scopus is a big geographic database of journal articles, international articles. So most of the big publishers affiliated with collaborate.
Robert?
Yeah, sorry. Just to follow up on the question about EAS, for the bulletin, we see there's really small number of Indonesian Indonesian authors. Is that then due to a high rejection rate? Because that would be your hypothesis, right? Or is it just because of a low submission rate for Indonesian authors?
Mas Budi or Christian?
I think it's a little bit of both, but I would say it's more of the latter. It's more low submission rates rather than high rejection rates. But I'm not certain about that.
Because then we just bounce the question back to the floor or to the room. Why are you not sending articles to the book?
Because of what the Arif said there, right?
Yes.
Like, why waste 2 years of your lives?
And also the relative attractiveness of writing in media, you know, in newspaper, in magazines. I think some of us see that there's a better alternative than torture. As I said to Daniel yesterday, I mean, only masochists like us want to be tortured in any process, peer review process. Mas Budi, do you have something to add?
I would like to stop masochist. It's because we scholars, businessmen are driven by greed, politicians are driven by the lust for power, and we are driven by the lust for fame. You see? And as for the problem of, yes, we have sometimes been sent papers sent by faculty members with the implicit, sometimes the rather explicit request, please, this is needed for the advancement of this particular faculty member. But as far as I know, we have never given in. We have said, okay, we will take note of this, but this, in order to preserve the quality of our paper, of our journal, we should, as best as I can, say, please improve your paper. But once we give in, the quality of the AP will quickly decline. There's also one other thing. I'm in a few weeks, I'll be 78. I'm by far the oldest. So I've also written a lot of obituaries. Perhaps it's an implicit hope that if I send or to hell or to heaven, someone will say, this guy is actually, he looks nice, but actually he's an SOB.
Thank you, Pak. We are too terlambat already, but one final last comment from Santi.
This is not a question, but probably more sharing the same frustration. And this is related with the journal, writing and international journalism. So the center, my center is actually a partnership with the university. So what we do, we've been trying to remodel the center to try to get more faculties to be involved in research. And one of them is that we offered for these faculties to be paired with a PhD student from Colombia when they want to publish in a international journal to help with the writing, with the substance, with the structure, as well as with the English. But so far, it's been the Colombia part's very excited, so the response is quite rapid. So there are like maybe 5-6 students offered to be paired with the faculties, but then when the article comes back and it's bleeding with track changes and comments, and then no response from the so that's probably not the best incentive to be offered.
Yeah, so thank you, Santi. I think it's also related to Robert's comment that actually it also comes from the person itself. So I now remember there was one policy in FAU UK because of very few faculty members tried to submit papers in international journal. They created this what is called PPSDM, Proyek Pengembangan Sumber Daya Manusia. It's a good incentive because for one journal article, international journal, they will give you 10 million, 10 juta. This is for PPSDM, but for 1 year, only 3 persons used it. And 1 person twice or 3 times. It's also the same person. Ari Kunchoro, Suwan, and someone else. So, and then the concept, well, this is not working, so they're still trying to find another model. So I think because we're out of time, anybody else? Okay. So with that, I concluded. I close the session, and please join me in thanking Pate and Monica. Back to you, Robert.
Well, you have the new session. What do you propose?
Oh, okay. Woody.
So we are quite late, but I suppose that we still have over 50 questions to answer this afternoon. After this, then what? Basically, we would like to ask whether this idea of forming a network of development researchers in Indonesia is something you think worthwhile or not, or should be just this workshop become the first and the last, or should we continue to the next year with more activities? So I would like to hear from you all based on what we have experienced today.
Trigger points. So I think it's useful. I like mingling with friends like this at the level that I think we share our concern. You know, not in quite many forms we can do this. But I think the setup needs to be changed a little to make the discussion more touching upon our problem and giving solution to it. And if you can pick up some of the patterns of things to support people to write, for instance. I mean, there are many things that we covered today, actually, not just about how people, whether how to encourage people to write, how you manage the university, how you there's so many different things. I mean, this is just the beginning. So I'm thinking next time you can do sort of parallel sessions maybe, and then there's some plenary coming back, either on topics just about writing, and then you hear views of everybody, so everybody contribute based on their different experience in their university setting or institute setting. And the other potential topic, I think, is based on research topics, because we come from various different fields of development topics. We heard today about education, and then the other part about, it's so many different things today that we could have discussed this in a more, productive way, that it can actually be real shopping invested for you to publish it, and yes, or I feel.
if you do form a network, I don't think we quite answered the question that if you do want to create a network, what do we want to do? I don't have any ideas, but you're throwing it back to the floor. Really, what's the function of the network? Is it to invest in its members, or maybe clinic types where we do have parallel sessions and it's a sharing? One person can share their experiences and then go back to plenary. Is it a thematic structure? But more importantly, whatever the structure, what do we want it to do?
Let me respond a little bit. Certainly there are various issues that have been happening, and we see some of them. The idea of developing a network is certainly not particularly aiming to solve everything, but at least communicating something. So, and remember also, if we form a network, this network is not the single network for all activities. This is part of activities that has been going on currently. There has been several conferences. ICAOS developed one. Several other universities developed conference with the call papers, and Arif is currently conducting the Indonesian Science Association, which is all these conferences are relatively multidisciplinary. So there are those kind of activities, and this one is particularly more on intensive communication among us. For example, what have been learned in this today and yesterday was the need to have economic seminar within your institution. And so those probably are message that each institution that currently doesn't have start to think, okay, we need to have this regular seminar to brainstorming idea. Otherwise, idea never been mature enough to get out. So those kind of things, it's not solving everything, but at least through this regular communication, we can identify and come up with some idea to solve. But remember, if you are in an institution and you have a problem, this network won't solve the problem. You have to solve your own problem. But at least through this communication, you get idea how to, what other people do. And for example, from Arif's presentation, we know that his strategy in terms of strengthening research within an institution, something that you can mimic basically if you want, and if you think that is applicable. So the idea if we're going to develop this network is that we meet, we share this agenda. And the second thing is we dare enough, we try to collaborate within us. Well, the idea of collaboration is that you basically through collaboration you learn more about your collaborator, what are they doing, what are their strategy, and so on. So one proposal that Robert has mentioned is that, well, we're going to provide a little bit incentive. We don't know that this is going to work or not. It's an opportunity for collaborating. At the moment, there has been thinking of collaboration between Indonesian university and international university in producing some activity. And we're thinking about, okay, we provide 15,000 and proposal coming in, and we choose about 4 or 5 in trying to collaborate and start research. So, but this is only trying to spark the fire. The real fire could come from anything anywhere else, should come from anywhere else. So that is one we would like, we're thinking. Yeah, one is that I repeated. The problem with me when I talk, I keep repeating things that I have been saying. Number one is certainly on communication. Number two is trying to provide incentive to collaborate. Yes, between our institutions there are competition, but I just told Katie that actually through those competition we receive more benefit rather than harm. Yeah, so don't be afraid that you are competing to the others, because by then you receive more benefit than harm. But on the other hand, we trying to provide incentive to collaborate. And there are certain specific aspects that we were trying to propose as well. There has been an issue of this writing skill. We certainly cannot solve those things through these small activities, but we're trying to think to initiate some option to solve this issue. One of the proposals that Robert has been talking as well with Pak Asep is that the next time we meet, we will have a session on writing. So we don't know yet what it will form. You are welcome to suggest. So one of the things that we could do is that we have your email address, and then we mentioned that we're going to have setting up this meeting, and then we're thinking to do this some short course on writing, and you are welcome to suggest what kind of form. So what I mentioned over here is that only some initiality, but later on, if we are keep meeting, what will the form will be is something that come from you guys. So those two are initially something that, those three are initially something that we're thinking. We don't need to have a formal association of network and so on, but at least if we can have a commitment that, okay, once a year or later on more than that, we meet, probably quite good, and the member could be a little bit bigger and so on. And I believe some of you who think it's not useful then get out from this network, which is okay as well. So, but that's the thing. Basically, what we're offering. Please.
So, but are you looking at a network between institutions or individuals?
There has been an argument, discussion between me and Asif, but I think we kind of agree that this is at an institutional level. Fair enough? But yeah, because one of the ideas is trying to help institution as well. So that's why the invitation is actually at institution level. Yeah. But maybe.
Okay, a few concrete suggestions. First about writing. I'm not really a big fan of writing skill workshop trainings. Why? Because, for example, as the research presented by Kathy and Susan, we can see that the writing article is only tiny last big part of the research. So what's the input to that is the process, which is basically survey and that need more resources. So it's not just simple writing to have complete research. You cannot write if you don't have the materials. Research material, and you cannot have research materials if you don't have good research. So And people, researchers in Korea, Japan, I don't think they have good writing skill in English, not many, but they publication in international works. It is pay people to translate the book. So that's not a big part. So the thing is one strategy that I think maybe, but I don't know it's how to do it. Based on my observations of article published by Indonesian research and researcher affiliated with Indonesian institution, is that majority of articles written by authors with Indonesian affiliation is written together with researcher from abroad. Majority of it, at least 20%. So the thing that we make is we can create a market. There is supply, there is a demand. So we can create a forum where foreign researchers from Australia, from anywhere, come to this workshop, and then we can call for proposal or bring research, small research or big research, whatever, to talk. Like, look, we have these ideas of big research, small or big. We can produce potential publication, then we can meet with other foreign researchers, and then create a market, supply and demand, and then perhaps we can find something concrete out of it. So that's just a simple idea.
I think it will be useful for us also, for the organizer to somehow collect and share to us the name and the research interest of each members here. I think at some degree this is a very good start of connecting Indonesians with the diaspora of Indonesia and Australia. And Indonesian is in Australia. So I think we know we share the same interests in terms of research, and that should be a very good start for us to do something together. So we know where to go if we want to produce in listed journals that you recommended. We know which people to go to if we want to collaborate for research. It's a good start.
Suggestions are well taken. So I guess we will do this possibility to collaborate between Indonesian researchers in Australia. So I think we soon after this we will together with SMERU announce that possibility, which is providing small seed research grant to initiate collaboration. And so then maybe after a year we can evaluate again whether that is successful. So that idea is well taken.
What I find very useful too is to spend some time in English project or English scholarship, because when you write paper you need to be hermit. You need to isolate yourself somewhere, not getting distracted by so many things in the harder. So if you have this institutional cooperation and network, this is something that you can do. You can invite some researchers to Southeast Indonesia projects to just do research.
Just wanted to mention in relation to collaboration that project that Andrew McIntyre ran for several years. I've forgotten the acronym actually. Australia, Indonesia, Research Partnership. I was a member of it actually, but as you get older, you know. But I always thought that was a very good program. I know it was knocked on the head by AusAid, partly because it was foisted on AusAid. at that time. It wasn't something that came up from below. I think it was something that came down from top. And I think, as I understand it, AusAid were not very happy. So it wasn't that it was a good program. It was regarded as a bad program. I think generally people thought it was a very good program. And the key component of it, as you remember, was collaboration. It was an Indonesian with a foreign researcher. I think the thing that struck me was that it brought a lot of Australians that had not done much research on Indonesia, but were quite well known in the field, into doing work with Indonesians, of course, who didn't necessarily know the theory or the field so well. And so there were a lot of partnerships that developed from that. I think the one weakness was that the projects were too small, and there was no component to follow up. So, and there was no publication actually. There was no requirement to publish from that. But I thought that the idea was very good, and maybe the sorts of collaboration that you're thinking of might be developed on some line, taking some of those principles from that project. I don't know what ASEC thought, but I thought that was a good project.
I thought so, like in that was a good program with several caveats. I think most of the research collaboration ended when the program ended. There was no continuing collaborations between the Indonesian researchers and the Australian researchers. Another component of that program, which I think is quite useful, was the young scholar programs. That's where we do, the senior researchers, both from Indonesia and Australia, mentor some young Indonesian researchers. We do couple days training, follow up by writing proposal, and the best ones will funded. And the mentoring continue during the research process until the final product. I think that's quite useful. And I have met some of the former young scholars who continue working on Indonesia and on research until now. I think that's a smaller component of the program, but I think the impact is more longer lasting than the main component of the program.
If I could just respond to that, I said, I think the reason there was no follow-up is because there was a big show in Jakarta, and that was the end. I mean, there was no publication, there was no necessity to follow up at all, so it was over. It was sort of a bit of a show thing, in a way. There was a PR component, which I think was a bit too strong, and it devalued the fundamental research component. So that might be some explanation.
Just to add, Michelle Ford did one of the closing diagnostics on mechanisms for building capacity of research institutions by collaboration between Indonesian and Australian research institutions. She then went through a couple of previous collaborations and the specific weaknesses of each. And one thing that is quite common, because most programs are structured to nurture partnership, that's the incentive for the Australian research institution to then collaborate with the Indonesian research institution. Sometimes it's like in Bendera almost, where the Australian research institution does a lot of the work. The Indonesian research institution then does all the groundwork, but then so it's not exactly an equal partnership. And I'm sure that this forum, if we move further, I'm sure that we can improve on that sense of equality and who's driving the research agenda. But I do think it's up on the web, so if you Google the show board, you'll find this. But I do think it has pertinent lessons for us if we do want to establish a much more robust network and research research collaboration?
What can I also mention here? And it's important that we control our expectation. Because not that we have a lot of funding at the moment, and at the time those activities is with a big with much bigger funding. I think about 10,000 for 5 years. Yeah, 10 million, 10,000, 6 million for 3. So let us control a little bit our expectation. We don't really know whether what funding we do have, but I think what we need to focus is a commitment to communicate, and we'll start trying to collaborate. And if you guys think it's useful, then we start thinking about what other sources or further collaboration. AUSID has this on the sector, but who knows, also USAID or DICTI or others that we can also discuss. These are the possible resources that is can be tapped while we think that collaboration is actually important. So let's start not move this movement of being collaborate based on funding that is available, but let's see whether this is useful or not, and then we start discussing of what are possible funding that we can have. And it's always good if we we are able to tap to several different sources. So then if we form a network, we are relatively independent. And it's also good then if there's a shock, we don't really have a big shock. So I don't know, time is probably rather limited. So can we agree that we are going to meet again at least a year after this? But meanwhile, Indonesian Project and SMERU trying to put aside some funding to provide an opportunity to collaborate or initiate some collaboration between your institution and Australian or international institution. Basically, you can use it for develop proposal or whatever genuine idea that you have. And then we communicate. We're trying to develop some email lists that it is okay with you guys. We put you in an email list and we can communicate. And so then we can decide what are the other activities. So probably that is how would we do that. Is that okay with everybody? All right. So
I think this is one minor addition to that. For the training that we could offer starting next year, writing or writing for journals or helping out with getting published. That's one thing we could look at. But we have other things that we can offer. So, we circulated a small questionnaire, or you can hardly call it a questionnaire, with some questions on just for you to give us some feedback on what you think would be effective, what kind of training, what kind of courses or workshops would you think which would be effective for you or for the research in general. But this can be training on methods, certain techniques. So we have a number of skills and expertise that we can share. So please, if you have ideas, fill this in and give it to either me or Vita or anyone else in SMERU or in the Indonesian project. And again, come back to the research grants. But we will not announce it later. We announce it today that the grants will be available. We'll circulate. We'll send information to you, given all the email addresses that we've now collected with the registration. And please circulate this information. And please try to hook up with Australian partners and submit proposal in May, between May and June 1st. So for us, this is a very useful workshop to get feedback on how to continue with these activities.
We don't want to close the workshop because we are so far. But I think time is limited, and once again, thank you all for having participated in this workshop. I believe it's very useful for us all here, and I hope that we can continue this in the future. Mas Budi always said to me, let's start small, keep our expectations low at first, but we have to make it sustainable. Don't start big and die after a couple of months. Okay, so we'll follow Mas Budi's advice on this. It's like a cafe, yeah? It's now the third year and still continue and we start very small, and I think it's growing. Yeah? The institution journey at cafe is also become more wider, and it's not Jakarta centered anymore. I hope this network also will be like that. We start small and we grow, and more institutions will be joining us in the future. So with that, let's close this workshop officially, and hopefully we will meet again in a year's time. Thank you.
Yeah.